It is Sunday of the second week of April, which means it's yet again that time to wrap in with join the neighborhood. Hello. Join the neighborhood and fight for the one true home and tell us all about it here on Cartoon Network. Let me link here. And tell us all about it here on Cartoon Network. Let me link here. Nope. Thank you, Pascal. Alright. What are we here to talk about? I don't know. Are you going to come into the chat room and tell me about it? I haven't finished setting everything up right now. I was stuck in the middle of a very long and fruitful conversation. And only did I finally make food for myself, eat that food, and now come here to start the live stream. Then again, caramel may be new to Yap-In. They probably don't know the ground rules. Exclamation point Yap-In! Assuming the bot's functioning today. The bot might not be functioning today. Because last night I recorded content with horror, and I have to edit that content if I want to put it up, but I have other work that needs to go up first, including my secret projects. No. Fatal did not pull, Shankar did not pull an orcs or black people. He did something much worse than that. He did something a lot worse than that. Video game. Alright, put the numbers all two on the side. String alerts. Let's make sure that the emote layer is working today. Ah! Ooh. I mean, that's the one thing that I'm talking about. Yes, saying that the Arabs are demons and that his is based off his childhood home in India. That's one definite thing that he absolutely did do. However, that is not in which I am referring to. We know why the Netflix DMC show is so goddamn piss poor shit. Perhaps if I do it from this side. There we go. For some reason, it wants to work faster from the fucking side of Twitch instead of the side of YouTube. Well, there you go. See if I can get it to function now. Assuming the layer wants to be smarter. Change link. Yep, everything's working now. But no, he did something a lot worse than that. Like pull said picture. What Shankar is, he said this shit. This right here. Correction, anti-hero. Disagree. By definition, anti-heroes are supposed to be the main character of the story. On top of this, Virgil, especially in 3, does not do anything remotely heroic. He says his pursuit of power is a selfish goal that he himself says he'll kill anyone for. Disagree all you want, but Virgil saw no one else. Hero power is the ultimate heroism, and Virgil understood that. He wasn't selfish, he was willing to bear the burden that nobody else could handle. He was ready to carry that Spartan legacy, whatever the cost. That's the real hero's journey. Power is the truth. Hashtag Virgil's right. This is why the show's so dog shit garbage. This right here is the reason why the show is so dog shit garbage. He's trying to do revisionism for Virgil. He's trying to do revisionism not just for Dante, claiming that he's always been the wacky woohoo pizza man, but he's also doing revisionism for Virgil. He's the fucking Virgil stan. And he wants to MCUify Devil May Cry so he can glaze and say, no, actually, Virgil's the real hero of the story. Dante won't go far enough. Reddit atheism. To the maximum peak, guys. Reddit atheism to the maximum peak. It doesn't get any worse from here. It doesn't get any worse from here, bro. Meanwhile, it is not showing you the shit that it needs to be showing you. Perhaps if I refresh the Baltrix chat, it'll do what it's supposed to be doing. So I'll just go and find out why Baltrix is not working the way it's meant to. Chat overlay. This should be working as intended. Don't know why it's not. There we go. Okay, don't have to fuck with it again. Hello, Tusky. How come El Dante is more fun to rip into than this shit? I can't answer that question, bro. I can't. However, as I start up my timer. Hello, Saffronet.
Hello.
Hi, Saf.
I'm actually getting ready to leave for a road trip, but I have a little bit of time to say a couple things. Yeah, it was real interesting how people reacted to him. Was he praising Asmongold? Or did he do the thing like it's supposed to be making fun of you?
Oh no, it was 100% Asmongold. He confirmed that as such on Twitter.
Yeah.
He was agreeing with him. He glazed him, and that made somebody who was a fan of the show crash out and completely drop the show because he hates Asmongold. He being the person that was responding to the chat from Adi Shankar.
Okay.
I can't find the up timer. I found it.
Just a whole bunch of foolishness around that. I mean, I think, were there some people catching on that he was like a Trump supporter, or he just kind of hand-waved that away?
Pretty much everybody decided to forget what Adi Shankar believes in. Like, they forgot that he was enthusiastically and happily showing up to the inauguration the same way that Elon Musk did, but because he's not Elon Musk, they just chose to fucking forget right out the goddamn window.
Mm.
It was actually something that came up for what I was looking at with horror the other day. But I learned from that conversation I had with her while I was recording the thing that we were going to record for, that there was a story that was posted about him on the subreddits about the behavior
Yeah.
that he was involved in. Which the long form version and the shorthand for this, for the people that are not looking there, is that he was effectively a extreme sex pest. It's inside of Podcast Ideas. It was posted at 9:26 a.m. yesterday by Horror. From the X Reddit column from 9 years, whenever this was posted from. Serious. People who work in Hollywood. What's the most fucked up thing you've witnessed in the business? That's on screen for you all. Because people are
Yeah.
lazy. Oh,
I did read that post, and like I don't know how. Like I mean, it could be, just an accusation. I don't know if it's true or not, but it just doesn't make him look too good.
The person who posted the tweet has deleted the tweet. That's horrible. So I'll do it this way. Boop, bop, boom, bop, bada boom, bang, pow. And let me shore this up. Article read. And chroma key. People who work in Hollywood, what's the most fucked up thing you've witnessed in the business? Since not a lot of people are naming names, I'll go ahead and name some. Shankar, sketchiest person I've met in this town. I know he's a hero on Reddit, but he's the craziest person I've ever worked for. In my few years in LA, I've returned a lot, including at his company. I thought it was pretty cool to learn from the producer of movies like The Grey and Dread, but what I learned pretty early on is that producer is a flexible term in Hollywood. What his company does is gap financing. Let's say a movie is already packaged and ready to go, but they require $28 million of a $30 million budget, and they go to a company like Shankar's. He gets a loan from the bank for $2 million, and then he slaps his name on it as an executive producer. No creativity, no involvement with the production, perfectly fine business model. But a level of douchiness that came with this is unmatched as from any other job. He would parade around town acting like he was the sole creative force behind the Grey and killing them softly. As a specific example, he liked to tell people that it was his idea to shoot Dread in 3D. He would often call interns into his office just to show them videos of, quote, some slut he fucked the night before. I was often tasked with researching IMDb's for rising actresses. He would then call them in for a general meeting where he would talk about how he's going to make them into a star, while usually not so successfully trying to trick them into sleeping with him. A year into interning there, and all I learned about was what drugs he liked and how to get women to sleep with him. Not a minute of actual industry work happened at that office. Turns out the actual producers and directors of projects don't take kindly to some guy parading around claiming responsibility for the movie. He was basically blacklisted from the industry, which is why he's been making his bootleg YouTube videos. His methods haven't changed at all. We all love the Power Rangers short, but what we know is that it was 100% paid for with the director's own money, over $100K. Addy didn't spend a single dollar of his money on this or any of his other content. He has directors pay for him, do all the creative, and then puts it on his YouTube page, or in this case, puts it up as his original work on Netflix, and essentially takes full credit. Interning for him was fucked up, cultish ego trip that has been unmatched at any of the places I've ever worked for, including large studios, and at the time that this was voted on, multiple people commented and upvoted it. So, any person who's noticed and also remembers multiple times when I said it's very clear that Eddie Shankar didn't do the work on this, because the actual writing came from, for Netflix season 1 of Castlevania, the majority of it came from Warren Ellis, and for season 2 of installment 2 of Nocturne, the majority came from those 5 people of business work. And when I wrote down multiple replies to him from the tweets that I wrote, all of them were specifically me saying, oh no, you wrote this is you, don't push this off on anyone else, this is your responsibility. Let's just go pull the tweet, in case I can go find it. There are people who are still retweeting it. If I can find it, at least. Because there is a lot of people retweeting a lot of my old shit. Although some people retweeted when I posted that we found out that he's one of those. That he's a Virgil stan trying to recontextualize Virgil. There we go. Further back, further back, further back.
Hey, everything about it.
Let me see if I can find it. I have to scroll down my likes very fast. Yep, found it. So, right here, where I posted directly to him as a reply to his face, you literally wrote and promoted and made the text. People are not being reactionary. They're making fun of you and telling you plainly to your face the result of your writing and direction that you gave them. And in the asterisk, I explicitly said Warren Ellis's writing, Clive Bradley's writing, which is the lead for season 2 of, rather, the follow-through of installment 2 of Castlevania Nocturne, alongside Zodwa Nyani, Temi O, and Testament. Zodwa Nyani and Temi O is 2 out of 3 of the Black Women Triumvirate. The ones that people said, oh my god, I can't believe you made Annette Black. Those are those women who were responsible for that writing. And Testament is somebody who's, just by, like, registry of their name, they don't want to be accredited by their actual name, so they chose a pen name to use for their work. These 5 writers for Castlevania Netflix are the people who are responsible for the actual work of Castlevania and Nocturne. And yet, who's being given the credit? Adi Shankar. Despite...
It's the Adi Shankar. He's the creator. Devil May Cry.
Yeah, and then my tweet that I had the other day that somebody was mauling and coping and seething at me for when I told them blatantly, no, he's not the creator. He's fucking retarded. Where is that tweet? Right here. Everyone's seen the picture. Everyone's seen the picture of Adi Shankar throwing his hand up and throwing his finger up to the sky as the when he was on Raw, where they credited him as creator of Devil May Cry, streaming now on Netflix. And I said blatantly, you need to apologize to Kamiya. There's somebody who got ass mad about this, and if I can go find that person, because I'm pretty sure that person is already fucked off because I blocked them after I referred to it because it was some of the dumbest shit you could have ever said in existence. He is the proper creator, so he deserves to be given credit. There's a clear problem going on there, right? Which is, found the tweet I'm looking for, which is, he's not actually the creator of Devil May Cry. It's a linguistic trick. So, on the tweet, as opposed to here, I'm going to demonstrate the attempt at the actually, with this person's response being hashtag, or air quotes, streaming on Netflix. It definitely wasn't referring to the games. Creator of Devil May Cry, comma, streaming on Netflix. Creator of Netflix's, air quote, Devil May Cry, comma, streaming now. Every single step that Netflix has been doing with putting out his work has been trying to glaze him as, quote, the creator of something new, when all he's been making is adaptations for the platform. So taking that alongside, this material here makes it very clear what's been going on, which again, like I said to Horror when we were going over it, Carl was right, Carl was right, Carl was right, he's a fucking tourist, Carl was right, Carl was right, Carl was right.
I mean, I knew it, but people don't want to admit that. Like, I even said that with the Castlevania stuff. Like, he's a tourist, and so was, like, some of the other writers on that.
So, no matter how you really, like, set it up or, like, try to explain it away, oh man, I'm a big fan of this show. I'm gonna die amongst all my content. Look at me and all my loot, guys. I was told a loser because I like the show. Oh, I'm a real fan. I deserve to get Reddit gold for this. It's so horrible. Because you have them have to overcome a really shit sequel / alternate universe in the form of B lowercase MC. Then they have a return to form with a really good game in the form of Devil May Cry 5. Because people weren't really feeling Devil May Cry 4. They didn't like the introduction of Nero originally, when they brought in Johnny Young Bosch to play the character. So, once they finally came back around and had the new interpretation, which came alongside having the new material, the body actors, them deciding on whether or not they're going to put in a lot of effort to make sure the series was running and working the way that it was. Put in a lot more faith and a lot more trust in Ruben Langdon and Dan Southworth and Johnny as a lead, and then bringing in the new guy that'd be the voice of V whenever they don't have Dan doing Virgil. All of this was content that you were like, yes, we're eating. Everybody was gooning after Nicoletta Goldstein. People were gooning after Trish. And I guess they were happy with Lady because they didn't have the design that they chose to give her when she was undercover with the church in Devil May Cry 4. They were happy. Lead straight in, Reddit atheism. all over the rest of the Reddit atheism and the rest of his content. It's the worst combo back-to-back you could get, because no matter how you fight back against them, they're always going to be louder as fuck, because they're never going to shut the fuck up. I don't know how to help him, right? Because now that we've watched the series, those of you who haven't, please pirate it. Do not give them digital Nielsen ratings. Please pirate it. Please
I will pirate it.
He wants to make the demons into humans, despite the fact that he's using context around the war of terrorism. So, W level 2001 politics, which are irrelevant. He wants to glaze Virgil, because his version of knowing Virgil is everything we learned from Devil May Cry 5. Because he didn't use a single bit of shit from Devil May Cry 3. The only thing that he lifted was a version of Dante's personality. And then telling Johnny to voice it like it's a never-ending shitpost of Wacky Woohoo Pizza Man. But what he actually ended up inventing is he just remade Deadpool. He didn't write Dante. He wrote Dante being impersonated by Deadpool.
And Dante isn't Deadpool. He's like completely different. He uses his kind of that comedy to mask his depression.
Yes. So then, Mary's fucked up. The soundtrack's fucked up. Because even though you might like some of the original shit that was written by people like Evanescence, it's literally, I have swag and merch of this show. Ah, I see that you are a fan of this show as you're wearing your shirt that you bought for 50% off at Hot Topic. It would have been more convenient if he just became a fan of Pippa Pipkin and just bought a fucking Pippa shirt and became a capitalist. It would have been more convenient for him. Because he's not actually into Devil May Cry. He's into making Devil May Cry into a talking point. He wants to make Devil May Cry into a piece of popular merch that increases his own net worth. Which then gives him the ability to use that money to then do more drugs and possibly sleep with actresses that he should be nowhere nearby. If anybody has ever wondered, for example, why did they never make a sequel to the Carl Urban Dread film, which is the one that post was referencing? Why did you not get to see more of actresses like Elizabeth Thursby, who is supposed to be a trained professional actor from the scenes of stage work with theater? That's why. Because it wasn't actually his job. It wasn't actually his work. He was taking credit. All of his work has always been him taking credit. So for all of the work that he's always been claiming was his, it's not. He can't write a single goddamn thing. He hasn't written a single thing. Because for what he actually wrote, the thing that he can say is his, that would be Captain Laserhawk. So you either have a shitpost atheist Redditor who takes everyone else's credit, or you have somebody who wants to basically make every single TV show into his crackpot theory of what it would look like if he was to remake Robot Chicken, which is exactly what he did with Captain Laserhawk. Because what he claimed that it was a pastiche. When he makes things in his bootleg universe, they are pastiches. They are meant to be jokes that he belittles. That one was the one that he wanted to make fun of the capitalistic venture of the content he had in his youth. The same way that Seth Green and the team that made Robot Chicken was making non-stop jokes about their humor. But they did so as a labor of love because they respected it. And then Reddit atheists tried to say, yeah, take down the industry, bro. This is real capitalism, man. And he turned around and said, no, you fucking retards. I loved Mask. I love Cobra. I loved G.I. Joe. That's why I'm making this. And then they fucked off. So then Shankar walked up and said, oh, this is mine. I can definitely make this. Who wants to see an Adi Shankar or original animation?
Carl, why do you talk like that?
Because he deserves it. And it's been dog shit ever since. Every time his name's come up in conversation, all he's done is given atheists something to watch and something to talk about. Is that what you want, Chad? Do you want Devil May Cry to just be something to talk about? Or do you actually want something to play? I rest my case.
No, but he likes the reboot. Like, I've seen enough.
To which I have to say, do not redeem! Do not redeem my show! Do not redeem my show! Do not redeem, sir! Do not redeem! Do not redeem his fucking livelihood. Do not give him another show. However, unfortunately, they will give him another show. So you just came up on your 15 minutes, but I'm gonna show chat this. All right, I'm gonna show you what's about to happen with Adi Shankar. I'm gonna prognosticate the future for you real quick. So, for Adi Shankar's entire work, all the shit that he's involved in right now, there are a couple of things that are going on specifically that you need to be aware of. The first thing you need to be aware of is right now he's co-signed onto a project called Ick as a producer, which is a science fiction horror film that's being done by Joseph Kahn, that's starring Brandon Routh, Melina Weissman, Harrison Cohn, Jeff Favre, and Mena Suvari, that he's going to be attached to through whatever distributor or studio picks it up. It doesn't have one right now. It's to be announced. However, the work that he is doing right now on television, his actual shit that's relevant. Castlevania. He was showrunner and executive producer. Guardians of Justice. Co-creator, co-director, executive producer, showrunner, co-writer. Castlevania Nocturne. Just executive producer. Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. Creator, showrunner, executive producer, voice actor, and story writer. Devil May Cry. Creator, showrunner, executive producer, story writer. The next three things he has lined up, because all of this came from the back of the work that he was doing with the first installment of Castlevania, which he claimed was his name to fame and his rise to fame, where most people have become aware of him outside of the Apu problem. Because the Apu problem actually belongs to somebody else entirely. But let's not...
it was another comedian.
Yes, let's not take that away from that comedian. That's a different topic. Just know that he backed it alongside other fucking actors backing it. You have Assassin's Creed, Hyper Light Drifter, and PUBG. All three of these have him as executive producer credits, alongside creator and showrunner with PUBG. The entire industry is deathly aware of him and what he does, because this wouldn't come out about him until around about after a short film that he did, the first of the short films that he did, called Punisher Dirty Laundry. Anybody who's familiar with Thomas Jane knows that Thomas Jane was the Punisher before the current guy that's doing Punisher. His version of Frank Castle, at least. This was something that he did as a 9-minute and 50-second feature-length one-shot film from his bootleg universe. But it was more like a fan-favorite film that he produced and then put out, and that he would get credit for. This goes alongside Venom and Truth and Justice, Judge Dredd Super Fiend, Power Slash Rangers, James Bond in Service of Nothing, Mr. Rogers, A War Hero, and The End of Pokemon. All which are videos that are one-shot films from his bootleg universe that he put onto his YouTube channel. Like the post was calling out, right? Everybody should remember the dark reimagining of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that had Katie Sackhoff and James Vanderbeek and Carla Perez as Ruta Propulsa. Everyone remembers that one. People probably don't remember the Venom Truth and Justice that had Ryan Quanten. Ryan Quanten, for anybody who cares, that's the brother character from True Blood. It's a Kiwi. He looks like a regular white guy if you didn't really notice that he was a regular white guy. But he tried to insert himself into that work as the rival video director Sunli Bakshi. So he was trying desperately to get into the MCU. He was trying desperately to get involved into it. But he didn't manage to land it, because most of the industry would then have been made aware of him doing what he's been doing, which is basically doing stolen video justice. Right now, all of his net worth is in his television shit. Netflix is the only thing keeping him relevant, because he doesn't do actual content, since clearly he's blowing his money on trying to be socially relevant. He's basically an influencer who influences nothing, but he wants to be influential, so he's trying to use Reddit as a way to keep himself relevant so he can lay his popularity into getting more work. Because he's going to say, look at my backlog, look at my Castlevania series, look at Castlevania Nocturne, look at Devil May Cry. I've got some of the best content under my belt. Because right now, he's just a content steward. He's responsible for holding the franchise. From there, once Assassin's Creed comes up, Hyper Light Drifter comes up, and PUBG comes up, he's not going to have anything else. And you're going to see him fucking filter out. Then he'll probably do something again to get relevancy and clout. It's like Kai Cenat, but Kai Cenat actually makes a live stream. What does Adi Shankar do outside of doing this television work? Nothing. Yet he's a YouTuber. But the YouTuber who makes videos isn't making videos? He doesn't have a group of people that he can make content with. He doesn't have a callback list of anything. That's how you know. That's how you know it's about to fucking go down for him. But nobody knows that if they're not aware of it. So he's gonna basically go bankrupt. Basically. He's gonna go bankrupt. And when he has no other content to work off of, people are gonna say, Adi Shankar who? But it's gonna be just like Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Everybody remembers when everybody was obsessively concerned with Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, right? Nobody knew that it was gonna just be a show where they were gonna glaze Ramona flowers. But that's how people behaved. It's gonna be the same shit. Here today, dawn tomorrow. But the damage will have already been done. Gatekeep your franchises, I guess.
Yeah, everybody should do that. Sorry. I mean, I did want to say something about the thread that I made about the Hawkeye's initiative, but I know there's no more time.
I mean, I could talk about the Hawkeye initiative on my own now. You don't have to do that deliverance for yourself.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's probably one of the most common things, and if anybody here in chat knows, I'll easily fill you in about it. But I'm gonna let you go, Saffronet.
All right.
Okay, thank you for calling in. Goodbye. Person who was waiting before decided to show up, and so I'm gonna flip a coin. Except I don't have a coin. So instead, I'm gonna roll a die. Call a number, boys. Evens or odds. Lemon duck, aqua, picking up. Hey, pick a type. Evens or odds. We're gonna shoot craps for who goes first. Aqua chose evens, which means Lemon, you get odds. It's a 5. Ugh. You both choke evens. Either way, Lemon Duck wins. How you doing, Lemon Duck?
Hello.
I'm
on my phone right now because I'm going to eat with my parents soon, so
cool.
I'm going to make this quick.
Okay.
What do you think is the most the perpetuating problem for particular platform or franchises like Sonic, at least?
What was the question?
What do you think is the most biggest problem franchises like Sonic face when competing with Mario?
Oh, when you say that, do you mean first-person mascot franchises or just franchises in general competing against the powerhouse that is Nintendo?
Generally just Sonic.
Okay. What is Sonic's problem competing against Mario? Sega no longer makes a platform. Sega has left the marketing scene up to the console wars being between Microsoft and Nintendo. Because technically, you'd say Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, which is to say GameCube and Nintendo products such as the Switch and Switch 2 versus the Xbox Series SX and all of their premium digital platforms, and then Sony with the PlayStation 5. But realistically, it's multi-platform versus first-party franchise titles that have stewards taking care of them. So the same way that Capcom is responsible for the franchises they have control of and are responsible for, most popular being any of the things that come out of Yakuza, anything that comes out of Monster Hunter, anything that comes out of Devil May Cry, and anything that they can potentially come back with in association with Atlus. Atlus is very much a backbone towards that philosophy because with Atlus comes Sega, because Sega owns a lot, and I mean a lot, of content. The problem that Sonic has is that it doesn't have a lot of fans. It doesn't have a lot of fans. People like Sonic, but what was the last Sonic game that was announced? Other than the one that was just released, I believe, Q1 this month within the most recent update, which was the Sonic Cars racing game, rather than a new installment of Sonic Riders. The last game released was Sonic X Shadow Generations. So, outside of mods, Sonic doesn't get enough title releases of mainstay content that would have kept him relevant. Because it's not about how good your game was, it's about how recent it was. But with all this potential in the Sonic franchise, the best we can do within the last few whiles was a reinterpretation, which was a repack, which was technically an entire delisting. Because to make Sonic X Shadows Generations, they had to delist Sonic Generations. I don't know if you remember when Sonic Generations released, but that was a big franchise watershed moment. And people didn't really talk a lot about this for Steam, but they delisted a significant backlog of their work. The particular backlog in question was an emulation service. An emulation service that emulated on top of your emulation. Let me pull it up real quick. Sega. It was called the Sega Mega Drive and Sega Genesis Classics. It was effectively a 1.4 gigabyte ROM that emulated titles that you purchased from the content. And back in December 6th of 2024, they were going to be shutting down and saying goodbye to all of the Mega Drive, Genesis Classics, and Dreamcast Classics. Because all of the Mega bundles were going to be delisted on December 6th of that year. If you already own them, they still live in your library. So, since I already own Sonic Generations, and since I already owned the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis Classics and some of the Dreamcast Classics, I still own them in my category. But if you were to go to the page now, if you were to go to the store page that exists for this, it would show you that the thing existed, but it is no longer available on the store. So for all this content that was available, you had multitudes of games that were games of the yesteryear. You had things like Streets Rage, you had things like Pinpoint, you had things like Shinobis, and the way that it would work is that the entire program would basically launch a project, and that project would then create a digital streamer room, similar to that of tabletop emulation. As I grab you a picture from one of the things right here. And what it looked like when you were playing it on the inside is it looked like this. You'd have the emulation thing serving on the left, and you would basically have all of your available live stream for your collection available to be played. Kind of like if you had the actual jewel case lined up on your shelf. If you wanted to play a game, you basically pull it out of your digital shelf, take it out of the cartridge, put it into the system, and then play it. It's effectively a virtual console similar to that as any other virtual console emulation feature, but it was the actual original run of the copies, the things that they had the physical source code for. So you could play shit like Columns, you could play Echo the Dolphin, you could play Echo Jr., you could play Echo the Dolphin 2, Tides of Time. All of the Mega Drive and all of the Genesis classics that were Kino you could get. Something comparable to what would have existed inside of the Xbox Live game store. For people who can remember any of the Sega Saturn classics that they had as like a download feature that you could buy. Some of us probably still own them, and maybe those who still had Uno on your systems, if you actually were lucky enough to get Uno on your systems. But in terms of the franchise, this was one of the things that actually killed it. Because in its place, for Sonic games, if you just put Sonic into the broadcast, and then you look at the Sonic games available, just for immediate purchase, because most people's main platform is the PC. If you just look at what's available right now, you'll see Sonic Frontiers, Sonic X Shadows Generation, Sonic Origins, we'll talk about that one in a second, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Mania, Sonic Rumble, Sonic Superstars, Sonic Forces, Sonic Adventure DX, Sonic Colors Ultimate, Sonic Superstars with the Lego Sonic skin and the holiday costume, Team Sonic Racing, the Sonic Generation Collection, we're about to talk about that in a second, Sonic Lost World, more Sonic Frontier shits. Let me list this by games only if I can. Doesn't look like I can. But a bunch of well-known Sonic games or stuff that's relevant to those Sonic games. So Sonic All-Stars and Racing Transformed Collection, that's basically the older game that would have already been re-released that we just got a new copy of and a new edition of. Versus the Sonic Mania, which is really the money printer. When they delisted the entire platform of old Sonic Incorporated titles, what they did was that they repackaged some of them into a new collection. So, in that collection, you have Sonic Origins and Sonic Origins Plus. What's in the Plus expansion pack, as you look at it from the webpage, is that if you already own Sonic Origins, you get to use the expansion pack to then add another 12 Sonic Game Gear titles, playable Knuckles and Sonic CD, and Amy Rose as a playable character in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, 3, 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic CD, which is effectively a $20 to $30 expansion pack tie-in to bring the package total to a total of $40, which is not necessary. All of this, of course, still selling you the original Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic CD. So, something you could have been able to emulate for less than $1, and all of its other relevant titles being repackaged into a new method to wring money out of you, hand over fist. This is probably the biggest problem that Sega has in terms of selling you shit. Because outside of the fact that this game, Sonic Rumble, is effectively a action battle royale 3D runner with PvP gameplay, Sonic Rumble, released in May, well, planning to be released in 3 weeks actually, on May 8th, 2025, is probably the only thing I have ever seen within the last 5 years of my life that has made Sonic into a household title name. Anytime a Sonic title comes out, don't get me wrong, people will talk about it and people will buy it. But this free game looks actually fun.
You guys doing what lunch?
So, that's one thing that Sonic does not have going for it that Mario does. Mario has at least a lot of things in its backlog, where if you just like Mario as character, the entire franchise is open to you. If you like repeatable Mario gameplay content, where you're just a big fan of Super Mario, Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2. I'm not sure if you were there on the days or in the early years of those launch titles for Mario Maker 1 and 2, but Mario Maker quite literally made Mario into a bigger household name. Because not only were you playing levels, you were making levels. You following me? He might be distracted.
I am.
Okay. So, Mario Maker, alongside a lot of titles that have done this, decided to follow the pattern that a lot of the game industry was doing. Because Dragon Quest has done this, Monster Hunter has done this, mainly because those are Sega titles or have Sega tie-in titles. All of them wanted to go the route of level building. Now, at the time, the big pump off for that was Sonic Mania, which, that's content that basically gave people a reason to revisit old work. But considering that Sonic Mania's story, especially its perfect ending, ties into playing Sonic Forces, why would a person want to do that? So then, you have, of course, then have Sonic Frontier, a new video game to give you new content to look at and a new way to see the genre-defining platforming and acceleration speed that he's known for. But then, for Mario, you've got Mario and Luigi, you've got Luigi's Mansion, you've got multiple knockoff Mario titles that feature Mario characters, or Mario Party, or in this case, Super Mario Party, party games. The sky is literally the limit. There's a lot that they can do with Mario that they cannot do with Sonic. Because since Sonic is a Sega and Sonic Team product, the only way to get use out of a Sega product is to feature it in other Sega content. And unfortunately, as funny as it is, there's actually a really big reason why they can't do that. And that's because the one game that they had that Americans started playing that's been ruined, that would be Phantasy Star Online 2. And the long and short that I can give you about that, Phantasy Star and Phantasy Star Online 2 was a concurrently running product for years that Sega had and tried to get up and running on the for the PC platform. It's basically an MMORPG, but it's made as an ARPG. And much like the Phantasy Star and Star Ocean franchises. These are single-player games, and not a lot of people play them. But a lot of people would be willing to play a multiplayer game. And it's a free game, and it's a good free game. But the Japanese version had basically been isolated for 8 years. And they finally, to fulfill their promise from Sega West in 2014, brought it to the Americas. And within 2 years of opening the global server, politics ruined it 100%. Because they had tie-in materials, like any game would have. Tie-in materials, Grubhub deals, DoorDash deals, and it went to shit. Because somebody's transgender friend cared more about making fun of people in the game than playing the game. And so the game and its audience died until they, banned the rest of them out of existence. So, yeah, that's kind of like the main problem it has. There's also the fact. How would I do it? How would I fix his problem? Sonic's problem is not just the games that he has, but the amount of actual verbal support he gets. Unless your name is Dimitri Monroe, you do not have people that are able to revive the Sonic franchise. You just don't. Like, if there's somebody who shows that they really love Sonic, it's Dimitri. Dimitri's probably single-handedly responsible for trying to give people a better light of understanding that the Sonic storybook era was not that bad, that Sonic was being sabotaged by Game Grumps and Aaron Hansen, because why would you hire a person who doesn't like Sonic to be an ambassador for the brand for years, as he constantly tells shit-posting jokes that make fun of and drag the entire brand down? The way to fix it, you have to do the same thing they did, which is to make games. Make a new Sonic Riders game. Make more spin-offs. Make a Tails spin-off. Make a Knuckles spin-off. You've got them out here doing things like Treasure Toad, like Treasure Toad Treasure Hunter, but you don't have a Knuckles digging game that plays off the mini games that you had to do as like micro content inside of Sonic Adventures 2 for work. You have no Knuckles and Rouge spin-off. You have no redo of Chaotix. You have no redo of a better up-to-date version of Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, the sky is the fucking limit, dude. And they're wasting that potential because they don't do it over. So, that's one thing you would do. Let me extend the timer because we just hit 15 minutes. Put another 45 on the clock. So, outside of doing that, another thing that you could do is get more than word of mouth off the ground. Since so much damage has been done to tarnish the brand of both Sonic Team, Sega as a developer and as a publisher, as well as a networking application, you have to get word of mouth on the ground to get people back involved with making shit. So that's why I bring up things like Sonic Rumble. If you didn't know that this game was going to come out, you do now, chat. So when this game releases in 3 weeks, if they really want to make money, if they really want to try to give themselves a chance to increase their numbers, because when I click on Sega right now is doing a shotgun method. Rather than playing with one franchise, they're doing multiple things. So, you've got Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. You've got Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Hinomi Chronicles 2. You've got Shinobi, The Art of Vengeance, which we saw on multiple different platform releases. You've got Raito Remastered for the Mystery of the Soulless Army. You've got multiple platforms and multiple franchises like Yakuza, Like a Dragon, 2 Point Museum, Total War, and the like, as well as Virtual Fighter. And, of course, their group projects, like Persona 3 Reload, which is in production development with Atlas, which, to say less about Sega, would be saying more about Atlas. They're not worried about Sonic as a franchise. They're more worried about their backlog that they can create more money from. So they would actually make more when working with Atlas and creating things like Persona 3 Reload, or those who probably don't remember, Metaphor ReFantazio, than they would from making Sonic games. Because if they can take advantage of the waifuification of anime JRPGs and anime fighters, they will. Because it makes more money.
Yep.
Would you rather a game that comes out and isn't good, or would you rather a game that's picking up 3 awards from the Game Awards? What gets you more attention? So that's like half the things they gotta do. Because on one hand, if you want to put a lot of that onto them, for whatever reason you have, because I can see it right now in chat, putting it on localization, what would you rather have? Play a popular JRPG, or have somebody tell you about?
I gotta talk to like.
Oh, you don't. Yeah, the rest of it.
I'm getting him in trouble, chat. He's deafened himself. We're going to give him a second so he can come back. Because we're getting to a fun part of the conversation now, but I want to at least give him the ability to bounce in here and bounce off the chat. So in the meanwhile, let me read through chat real quick. What about that VTuber? Don't know who you're talking about, Diego. Dimitri Monroe is a cool dude. He's well versed and knowledgeable when it comes to this kind of stuff. Surprised that Sega didn't make a Knuckles game for the movie short with Knuckles.
I'm back.
Welcome back. For the Knuckles Paramount Plus film, I wasn't really sure if that would be a thing picked up. Because, you know, that has less to do with Knuckles as a character in the Sonic franchise, and more to do with the movies making Knuckles look cooler. Which, that's more on Paramount Plus and Idris Elba than anything. So, I mean, the amount of effort that they have going on there, like, Sonic isn't even a video game franchise right now. It's more like a movie franchise. They're putting a lot more faith in hoping that movie Sonic works out. So there's an element to that there. By the way, there's a Sonic game that's exclusive to Apple and not many people know about it. I mean, I guess nobody's gonna learn about it because you never said its name, Scotty. But yeah, there's a lot of things there too. Is it a cardinal sin that they didn't let you have a certain character be a part of the story? I don't know what that means, Scott. But yeah, on top of the fact that Sonic's not really a hot franchise, and that they're making more money with the shotgun method, working on all the other franchises, remasters, and remakes that they have in their back catalog, Sega cannot compete against Nintendo because, unlike in the past where Sega does what Nintendo don't, Sega does not even do. It just funds. They don't have to worry about making Sonic into a proper franchise and into a popular material. They only have to worry about making it relevant and make money through methods that are not only based on supporting gamers. So on the other side of that, you got Nintendo, right? They just did their showcase and just explained as their release as a Nintendo Direct what they're going to be doing with the Nintendo Switch 2. Early games start. Mario Kart opener. Later on in the future of the franchise, multiple Kirby games coming through, a Donkey Kong game in the style of Super Mario Odyssey coming through, multiple titles across the bow, some which we were already told about, as well as multi-platform from the AAA side of the business and the AA side of the business coming through, launching and releasing the same day as the console. Undertale, as well as Deltarune, chapters 1 through 4 being developed and being brought to the handheld console, so you have the ability to play your games on the go. Popular games that you would otherwise be stuck to playing on the Steam Deck, but you probably would preferable just keep your Steam Deck, boys, because if you've got $500 to pay for a luxury system, that's definitely in your favor. But then the fact that it's a backwards compatible product that's emulating your games rather than actually working off the console content that you have on your cartridge. Nintendo just has a larger library that even if you don't like playing Mario games, you can go find a Mario game that you prefer. And then just simply in the Mario franchise, you got Mario Kart, you've got Paper Mario, you've got Mario and Luigi, you've got older titles from Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. It's probably the last time they were ever really competing against each other as material to give Sega something to do. You've got Sega releasing Sonic titles that will be played on the console for its generation. You've got the knockoff games. You've got Mario Maker. You have Luigi's Mansion 1 through 3. You've got a lot of JRPG content. So you've got the remaster of Mario RPG. You've got multiple pieces of Mario content that are independent of him being a part of the Super Mario Brothers movie. If anything, it acts as a way for normies to become a vehicle to bring them into their franchise. So you've got people piping into Sonic, and you've got people piping into Super Mario because of the movies. But then when they actually get their hands on the video games, they have more Mario games to play than they do Sonic games to play. And they have more accessible games to play on the console that they're buying it for in the generation that it's currently happening than the Sonic games do. And unless they're willing to go back into the backlog of the catalog and play them, they don't have enough. So you see the problem there?
See.
A better way to put it is imagine that Mario and Sonic are two different flavors at an ice cream shop, right? You've got the Mario flavor, and you've got the Sonic flavor. Somebody comes in to try the Sonic flavor. They're like, the Sonic is really good today. Is there any other Sonic or Sonic-related accessories that I can buy? And they look into that conversation, and what they end up with is, no, that's all we got. Damn, that sucks. What about this Mario flavor? This Mario is good. You got any Mario and Mario-related accessories and flavors? Yeah, I do. I got 25 flavors ready to go right now. Damn, I'll buy all of them. That's the problem. Take care, Scotty. But yeah, that's the problem. The problem is that Sega has a backlog, and Sega and Nintendo both have backlogs. But Nintendo doesn't have to only rely on Mario as a first-party mascot or even as a first-party franchise title to carry the good name. They've got, thank you, One Wick, they've got Mario, they've got Zelda, they've got Luigi, they've got Luigi's Mansion specifically, they've got Samus Aran in Metroid, they've got Donkey Kong, they've got a spiritual successor to Bloodborne, they've got mainstream platform titles, they've got AAA and AA titles, I'm running out of fingers, they've got AA titles, they've got indie titles, they've got indie titles specifically from people like Toby Fox and Concerned Ape, they've got emulation for some of the older games from older generations. Oh, I don't want to buy those. And for those that are too lazy to install the application that we work on, they don't want to try to figure out how to make something like PCSX or Genesis or Gens or SNES or ZSNES work. You can play them directly on NSO. They will never run out of material. They'll never run out of flavors. So even if you don't like the Mario flavor, maybe you pick up the elven female breeding press flavor, otherwise known as Legend of Zelda porn. Maybe you pick up the Metroid flavor, the fucking blueberry raz extravaganza. Maybe you pick up the chocolate chunky road with banana split flavor, the Donkey Kong flavor. They will never run out of material, whereas Sonic only has one type of material. And if you're not a fan of the current Sonic games that are currently out there, you'd have to go back and buy other ones. And unfortunately, for those consoles, those games are expensive as fuck. So unless you're willing to emulate them, there's not really much to do. But this Sonic Rumbles game that's going to be coming out in 3 months, that's something that once it pops out, it'll probably be like every other Battle Royale. People are going to be like, damn, this is a really new crazy game, you should play it now. Mainly because they're going to be fiending for friends to play it with. The same way that people are with Marvel Rivals, or any other such title. It just doesn't have the buzz to support what they want to do, or what people would want to see it do, because the people who really like Sonic are not saying how much they like Sonic. Because the Sonic movies are great. Even if you don't like the particular voice actor that is doing the movie version of Sonic, that doesn't mean that Roger or any of the other voice actors got fired. They're still making the Netflix Sonic TV show. Sonic Prime. I think it's called. And they're still going to make other Sonic games with those voice actors. So if you want to watch the television show, so if you were to watch Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and then Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and then you watch the Paramount Plus Knuckles series, where they had a bunch of Jewish actors doing shit with Idris Elba. That was a laugh and a half when that shit happened, because they got mad about that shit. And then you watch Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Once you run out of Sonic the Hedgehog movie, content's done. So then, the only thing you have left is then the video games. So if you made a backlog of Sonic shit, and then made a backlog on Nintendo stuff, and only picked out the Nintendo stuff, because a lot of those Mario games are actually Western RPGs, like almost all of Paper Mario, or just specifically Paper Mario: The Origami King. By the time you finished with just the movie franchise for Sonic, you'd probably be maybe 25% of the way through Sonic, through Paper Mario: The Origami King, before you even started on the next thing behind that, which would be the remake of Paper Mario RPG, or Super Mario RPG. And then the next thing after that, and then the next thing after that. Does that make sense? I've lost him, chat.
Yep, no, I get it.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to ask me?
What? No.
Okay, no problem. Since you're with your family, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks you for calling in.
Okay.
We will see you when you see you, baby. Alright, your turn, Aqua.
Hey.
Hello, Aqua. How can I help you?
Hey. What? Hold on a second. Oh, my back is sore. It was something I meant to ask about. It was involving both, I guess you could say, the Sonic movies and DMCs. Like, with the prevalent rise of these gaming adaptations, because, you know, cape shit is kind of dying out, you worried at all of where this could actually take a lot of these franchises? Because if anything can be, like, discerned from this, like, rise of the Sonic movies and how they're popular now, it's like, oh, Sonic's actually getting a bit of a boost. And we've seen the same thing with spin-off material for something like Cyberpunk with Edge Runners. Do you think that could be a positive thing, or do you think that we'll actually have, like, some negative connotations to it? Because we've seen what DMC and even later Castlevania adaptations have done to almost tarnish their franchises, or at least put a bad precedent set for those for future adaptations. Do you think it's going to be even worse, or do you think there actually could be some gold lying in the wait? And yes, John Wick, Edge Runners was great. It's the only thing that's actually getting me to play 2077.
Short answer, no.
Okay.
Long answer, the problem with game adaptations is that a game adaptation is only as relevant and as good as the people who are playing it. So,
Okay.
when considering the involvement of people playing the video game and having fun with said video game, you have to consider it as, what do they do that other people could not do themselves that keeps other people interested? Because for Devil May Cry having its video games, then having the lowercase MC as an adaptation, and then having the novels, as well as the anime adaptation, which is Diego's bringing up right now in chat.
And the manga too. I think there was a manga.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
When
When I'm saying the novels, the
Oh, sorry.
novelization as well as
Sorry.
the mangas, all of those come from the backbone of people recognizing the non-tourist viewpoint. All of those other content titles. So let's take, for example, Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts had a manga adaptation. The same way that some titles that are relevant got some type of one-off novel that explained the backstory of some character that then was decanonized, so it's not actually the character, but it's comparative to the same character. All of those novelizations and all of those supporting pieces of content only exist in the viewpoint as relevant as they are to the people supporting it. So, for Kingdom Hearts 1 through 3, you've got a lot of side games. And with those side games,
Right.
you've got a lot of people confused about what the fuck's happening in them. Making an adaptation that would explain that would be as relevant as having an adaptation that would explain what's going on with the particular trios of the story. Because every trio in the story is involved with it in such a way where without those people to support that work, you have no actual understanding of what's going on with the content, and therefore are confused about what to do next with what you'd have available to you from those other people and that other content being involved with the franchise. By that I mean, when you make Kingdom Hearts, you're not just making a piece of material about Kingdom Hearts 1. You're making parts about the entire franchise. So now that means Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts 265 days, 65, 268, 258
It's
days?
356 over 2 days.
356 over
Or
2.
358 over. Yeah,
I don't know.
that too.
Everyone knows it's the Kingdom Hearts game that's a math problem. The redo of Chain of Memory that was done for the PS2 title that put it into a proper 3D
action
era,
game.
a 3D area action game, but with the mechanics of Chain of Memories from the GBA title. The repackages of Kingdom Hearts 1, so 1.5, 1.5 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts 2.5 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts 2.8.1.3, A Fragmentary Passage, and then Kingdom Hearts 3, and then Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. Every single piece of material is going to be off the back of that material that came before it, and supported by the material of the assistance of the people who got into it. So in order for people to even do that, to even gauge that question, as I open up here, they would have to now play what is in front of them, that is available to them in front of them. So if I went to Kingdom Hearts right now on Steam, they of course have everything that's there that I'm talking about. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix, Kingdom Hearts 3 with the Remind DLC, and Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, which is a really dumb title to name that, which includes Kingdom Hearts, have to go through this, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts Back Cover, which is Kai Back Cover, the movie about the fucking video game that was being played in Kai, and then Kingdom Hearts 02 Birth by Sleep, A Fragmentary Passage, which is effectively a fucking movie about Aqua that leads into Kingdom Hearts 3. That's literally a game and 2 movies.
Yeah.
Then you have the Kingdom Hearts 3 1.5 and 2.5. That's Final Mix. That's Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix. Kingdom Hearts 2 Chain of Memories. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Kingdom Hearts
I have that.
358 Days Over 2, alongside an HD cutscene compilation. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix, and Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which is another HD cutscene compilation.
Yep.
4 video games and 2 movies. At least in this one, you're getting more content. And then, of course, Kingdom Hearts 3 and Remind, a $60 game being sold for full price for what is effectively a really shit DLC that adds super bosses. Because Kingdom Hearts 3 itself was a product that was promised that didn't really deliver a full product worthy of your money. In order for people to have that same question, they'd have to play all of that franchise. And then you have to then ask yourself, okay, do I understand the content that is happening inside of Kingdom Hearts? Do I understand what Dream Drop Distance is? Do I understand about the Waking Worlds? Do I understand what the power of waking is? Do I understand the reason why Sora is now sealed inside of that other world place that he went to as the consequence for overusing the power of waking? The answer is no! They don't know. And so they need somebody else to explain it for them. There's no amount of money that helps them with that problem. So then, you look at another franchise, like Yakuza, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. Two different franchises, technically, under the house of one franchise whole. People not understanding Kiryu, and people not understanding all of the bullshit that's going on inside of Like a Dragon, especially Infinite Wealth. You have people that are going to walk away with the same question. Do that for every other title that's relevant, especially that for Square Enix, and you're looking at a never-ending question. So, same thing, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is to say Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. People are not going to get it if they do not already care about the character, or they do not already care about the sequelized story that they're being told with these reinterpretations and these re-ups and these remakes. Same thing with the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 2D remakes. Same thing alongside the Dragon Quest 3 remake. Same thing alongside Saga Frontier 2 remastered. All of the effort that goes into this franchise is to keep them alive on the breath and the words of other people watching them and consuming them. Is hoping that you put a lot more effort in than they did with the content that'd be available. In fact, I could go down the shopping list inside of Square Enix right now on Steam, on their page, and you'd have the same question for a lot of those franchises. So, Final Fantasy 16, same problem. Star Ocean, same problem. Little Goody Two Shoes, same problem, even with a much smaller indie video game. Saga Frontier, Dragon Quest, Fantasian Neo Dimension, Visions of Mana, the Mana series as a whole, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Infinity Slash, Dragon Quest: The Story of Dai, specifically the one that relates to the manga and the anime of that nature. Dragon Quest Treasures, so Dragon Quest is a franchise itself. Strangers in Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, otherwise known as the Final Fantasy movie game that people were told to play because darkness, chaos. Paranormal Sight, Seven Mysteries of Hongzhou, Octopath Traveler, Octopath Traveler 2, Forspoken. The World Ends With You. The World Ends With You, and then by that extension, Neo, The World Ends With You. The game that came out during COVID that nobody played because it was people trying to put fucking commie worldviews inside of The World Ends With You.
Does that also count Dream Drop Distance Kingdom Hearts? Because that also had characters from The World Ends With You in it.
No.
Does that kind of count,
No.
or is that just a
Because The World Ends With You is the good one. That's the one that follows Nekusara Baro. Neo, The World Ends With You is the sequel that was dog shit. Because they tried to push the common viewpoints of characters that were not Nekusara Bara.
Oh.
I have intentions to play it in the future, but not at this time.
I've never played that game. I should try it. I'd like to.
I mean, it's worth playing if you like collecting pins.
Okay.
I could not tell you about what the gameplay type inside of Neo The World Ends With You looks like, but hopefully it stays to the soul of the original title. And looking at the display that they currently have, it's basically 3D The World Ends With You, alongside party content. So it's a game that plays like the open air field access that they've been trying to make happen with Final Fantasy, and it has modular combat based on the pins that you could use. It doesn't look like it's a bad game, but the story is the thing that people are going to ask and will remember and talk about. So
that's going to be the heart of it.
Yes. So that brings you to the same problem with the character. That's the same issue. So the answer is like no, and then no, but some steps. There's probably maybe a few ways that this answer can be questioned, question can be answered. And that depends on how much you care about the original franchise. So, if you were to scroll down on this list and you wanted to look for something that would be worthy to defend, which I don't think there's really a lot here because they have the same kind of energy that they do with Square Enix's back catalog, especially since they've been doing the pixel remasters for their content. They're really putting it more on you to care about it than them to give a fuck about it. Same thing with Life is Strange remastered, for example, and Before the Storm remastered. Let's use Chrono Cross, right? Within that big sale that they were,
like Chrono Cross.
Yeah, within that big sale that they were doing a few months back, I picked up the Radical Dreamers edition, as well as a copy. Yes, as well as a copy of Chrono Trigger for the PC. The amount of energy that you could give to just Chrono Trigger alone, you don't need me to tell you about how good Chrono Trigger is. Just play the game yourself and play it 15 Ways to Sunday and see how much time you spend inside of it getting all the endings and defeating all of those super bosses. You need no introduction. Everybody knows about Chrono Trigger. Chrono Cross, however, the Chrono franchise is pretty much stuck on the fact that people do not play Chrono Cross because they play Chrono Trigger and that's it. And it's because Chrono Cross is not Chrono Trigger. It's not the same game. It doesn't play the same. It asks for you to do more. It asks for you to think more. And with the many ways that the gameplay's lore can go, you have even more endings in this game, which means even more achievements for those that are playing on Steam to get, and many more forms of indie-gaming content, which is comparable to playing, say, Final Fantasy X through its X and X2 HD remaster. But at the very least, they're giving you an entire video game. 2 video games, even, in an HD remaster, bringing them from the consoles they were trapped on, which would be the PlayStation 2, and bringing them to you here with all the content that would have been available to them, that would not be available now, like the audiobook for the Eternal Calm, or the extra Final Mission video game that is released in the form of like a side game for X2. The same issue exists there, in that Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger, despite Chrono Cross being the sequel to Chrono Trigger, has people who care more about the first title because nostalgia, but are not willing to give Radical Dreamers a chance.
Which is a shame.
Part of it comes out to the fact that the Radical Dreamers, which is the short story text adventure that encouraged the first mission you do in Chrono Cross with Kid as Surge, the main character of the story, they didn't care for that text adventure. It's just a side story for you that it doesn't really matter. But if you wanted to really get a feel for what Chrono Cross was trying to do, it was trying to get you to understand that timeless adventure sense. And people don't care for it because they didn't play Chrono Cross. Any endings, probably didn't like the ending they got. They didn't think much about it, and they fucking passed on it, and they went somewhere else, and they didn't play it again. It's a timeless JRPG, but when you've got plenty of JRPGs on the market, why would you care about Chrono Cross or Chrono Trigger when you could instead play... What's my most recent played? Look at my library.
It's a timeless RPG, but no one wants to give it the time, which is the biggest shame.
Like, yeah, when you have games like that to be played, why would you be playing that when you could be playing South of Midnight? Or why would you be playing that when you could be playing Path of Exile 2? Or when you could be throwing your 100,000th hand of Balatro? Or you could be playing the newest update on Don't Starve Together? Or you could be playing another hunt in Monster Hunter Wilds? Or you could be playing Repo with your friends? Or you could be playing another run of Corpse Keeper. Or you could be playing Deep Rock Galactic to get prepared for playing Deep Rock Galactic Rogue Core. Or you could be playing another match of Marvel Rivals. Like, the problems and the possibility of what you have available to you is endless. And it's the question of why would I care about one game when I could be playing another game? Why would I be excited for content when I could be playing the other game of my other content? To give people a reason to care, you have to have something that gives them a reason to stay there, to play it, and they don't have that going for them like the Nier franchise does. They don't have that going for them like the Devil May Cry franchise does, and that's because once you finish playing a JRPG, that's it. It doesn't expand from there. The only franchise that can argue that it does is Persona, But Persona 3, that's cheating. Persona 4, that's also cheating. Persona 5 Royale, that's also cheating. Metaphor Revantasio, that's also cheating. And why are they cheating? Because people are fucking raving for them. Because there's another Persona-like game in the form of Metaphor like Revantasio. And even if you were to go through the line, the reason why Persona 3 Remake is cheating is because Reload gives people the jumping in point that's popular for Persona 3. They don't care about Persona 1 and Persona 2. They just care about everything after Persona 3.
I wish they would make another Nocturne-like. I miss... Oh.
I don't know, man.
Sorry.
Because, like, the same thing exists with SMT. People like talking about playing SMT Nocturne because Nocturne is the hard one. They don't really talk about they don't really talk about SMT4 because SMT4 didn't have a really strong story. They'll talk about Apocalypse because Apocalypse and its story from that ending of that game is good and gives them more content to chew on. And that's saying a lot, especially when you consider that a lot of these franchises keep themselves going off of gacha games. But, you know, gacha games are dying every day. The gacha game launches, it's announcing its closure of service.
Yeah.
Then you get into the most recent one in the SMT line, SMT 5. People played 5, but they were really waiting for the repackage. So SMT 5 Vengeance comes out, same shit. Same shit with Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royale. Same thing it was with Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden. They
Same
cared,
shit, different day.
They cared more about the relevance of how much people cared about that particular character. And unfortunately, the reason why they're talking about it isn't because they're talking about the game and how good it is. It's because they're trying to tell you those characters are gay and trans. They're constantly telling you that Naoto is actually a man, and you not calling and accepting her as a man is you being a hateful bigot. Crack your egg. It's about parasocial issues outside of the thing you're actually there for, which is playing the fucking video game. Correct. They're using it as a platform to complain about other shit that's not relevant to the fucking video game.
They want to use it as a cudgel. Oh, Jesus.
Well, if they want to use it as a cudgel, use a breed press.
Yep.
So, no, they're kind of cooked. If you can be able to get them to be disseminated amongst the audience, individually. So, from those that are here in the chat room that can hear my voice, if you can take someone's love of these games and then waylay that into an actual community of people who like talking about the actual things relevant to the game instead of using it as a way to get you into being a communist, then you could be able to look over at the industry, kind of like what Foster's mentioning right now, with Nier Automata.
I like Automata.
Even if all you like is anime girls and big titties, the only thing that they will take away from those franchises is those characters. So, the people who are obsessed with Persona as a franchise care about the socialization conversation, but they do not care about the characters. I have to clean the camera real quick, chat. You're looking dirty.
I was gonna say it looks a little bit blurry.
No, that's because of the overhead light.
Not focusing or...
That's because of the overhead light.
Ah, I see. Oh, I see.
I'm not using the camera light in my bedroom. The characters that they love, they're gonna take and they're gonna use for whatever content they want to talk about. Then they'll leave everything else behind and leave it to rot like meat off of a carcass. With the Japanese industry, they care about obscure titles. Little timer on the clock. They care about obscure titles that people either didn't know existed or only remember because of the fact that it's an obscure title that other people would have forgotten about. So I'm about to pull out one from Tri-Ace, because I'm a fan of the Tri-Ace industry, because I'm a fan of Star Ocean. There is a title called Resonance of Fate / End of Eternity 4K HD Edition. It is a symphonic gunplay RPG. This title alongside the title Lightning Returns for Final Fantasy, is some of the greatest material and greatest content work that has ever existed that the Japanese will never stop talking about. Because it is that good.
I've never heard of this game, I don't think.
No, you haven't.
That looks interesting. That looks interesting.
It came and went when it came to the eyes and minds of people here in the West. But the Japanese have never shut the fuck up about this game. So...
Why is that?
Because they were too busy being told by journalists that they needed to play Metaphor Ray Phantasmio. So...
Oh.
Not accounting.
It's journalists who are to blame for.
I mean, there are a lot of people to blame for it, but it's not just journalists.
Oh.
But looking right here at what is available from Tri-Ace right now in the shop, you've got Star Ocean: The Last Hope 4K Full HD Remaster, Resonance of Faith End of Eternity 4K Remaster, and Star Ocean: The Divine Force, which is, I think, the most recent Star Ocean title. And then, of course, the DLC content that they may or may not have put out content for. This is what people would come to know for a particular developer in terms of what they have available to them to play from in the marketplace. But that's what they would care about most. They want word of mouth. They only care about word of mouth when it comes to the Western view of the industry. They don't want to have a conversation about the characters unless the characters make them money. They don't want to have a conversation about the franchise unless the franchise makes them money. And if they are looking into what makes the franchise good, they're only going to look as far as what they're being told the people in the franchise want to enjoy. And then they're going to take that piece and they won't talk about anything else. Whereas, for people who are fans of things like Star Ocean, that's an entire franchise worth of content that you can play. All of it single player. Phantasy Star, the early classical titles are the ones that are single player. All of the ones that are based for what most of people became familiar with Phantasy Star 4, those of you who ever owned an original Xbox, those were people who were in love with Phantasy Star Online when it first came out. Back then it was called Phantasy Star Online Episodes 1 through 2. Because there's a big, never-ending story involving those characters in the falls. But that was content that they would have enjoyed at that time. But they would have had more to go off of. Because it wouldn't just been, damn, I'm really a big fan of this Star Ocean shit and this Phantasy Star shit. To talk about those games means talking about all of the content that those games have to offer, not just the parts that they remember and think of most. So, for example, if you were playing Phantasy Star Online with me at the time which it had come to America, and which I had been spending a lot of my time playing on the Japanese server before changing to the American server, and then building up my character around about the early first 2 years of COVID, that kind of fandom that you could get out of me, you can only be able to get out of franchises like Path of Exile. But talking about Path of Exile versus actually playing the game. Versus what I'm doing right now, where I'm playing the game, and we're talking about this. If we were to pivot this conversation to talk about PoE, we would no longer be talking about the lore of the game. We would be talking about the best build. What build are you running? What does that build work off of? How easy it is to set up that build? That's the kind of conversation that people cannot create because people's connection to characters are based on the relevance of the connection they have for themselves. So, for me and you, the way that you would talk about Path of Exile would be based on your outcome, right? Your fun with the game is based on how much money you're making in it. If I'm making money and you're not, and you look over at me, you're going to be like, damn, I guess I don't get to play this game. I don't get to really experience it. Whereas with the industry, when it comes to the movie games, they're based on that mouthfeel you had on first watch. And if your mouthfeel on first watch isn't the same as somebody else's, where you don't care for Lesbian Showdown Mark II, by that I mean Last of Us Part 2. If you don't care for Joel and One golfing and the personal story that actually we're the real monsters in
They're ready
relevance.
to encounter that again in the TV show. Ugh, I'm excited.
I mean, they're just remaking the video game. I mean, the same shit that I just said earlier with him about that franchise, the same thing's happening there. It's just, we're watching the crash out happen a lot slower. And Naughty Dog could do with hurrying it the fuck up. I want to see Amy Hennig return to her job. Chop, 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 nigga, chop, chop! It's the same problem there as well. They want you to connect yourself to the character. Let's use Half Midnight as an example. They want you to connect yourself to the character of Hazel Flood. And they want you to care about the worldview of, oh my god, I can't believe that Hazel is tracing the patterns of pain and torment that's troubling people where she lives in Prospero. Prospero, a word that is derived from prosperity. Prosperity.
And also the...
So, don't worry, I'm going...
It's also the name of the place from The Tempest from Shakespeare, so subtle.
Oh, well, no, the thing they're going for here. Let me do the thing. Prospero, derived from prosperity, which is derived from the amount of money her white family originally earned off of slavery and buying people out of business. Prosperity off the backs of whites. It's an evil white people game.
Oh, I see.
Journey along with Southern Black Alice in Wonderland as she learns why her family is at fault with everything to do with her magical story, and find out how she is able to repair it as she's chosen by the land to repair things. A magical girl who gets powers from picking cotton.
And has the ability to pay reparations to her community.
Literally paying reparations to her community by healing the mythical creatures that have been caused from the trauma that they caused each other.
What did the game mean by this?
Black therapy speech.
Ah. Slam poetry speech. Poetry therapy speech, sorry.
Yeah, it's not exactly something that the people will be debating for ages and ages to come. No?
No.
No.
I wouldn't imagine.
So
I would not imagine.
So that's what you end up having to deal with. That's the problem. You want them to give a shit about the franchise, but the people who are being left in the hand of the franchise don't even give a shit about what their story is. To steal a line from Interview with the Vampire, you don't even know the meaning of your own story, man.
Yep.
So if they don't give a shit about their own
I'm waiting
product,
for someone to chomp onto my neck and me. There's someone to suffer.
I mean, if they don't get the story of their own work, and they care more about making it into a fun topical romp, instead of like something that they say is really worth talking about, how does somebody else get into their video game?
Mm-hmm.
Or the story,
If you can't
or
even
the
give a
franchise.
damn, why am I expected to pay you and give a damn?
Or rather, why would they pay you money when they could just pirate the game and see what's inside of it, and then when they find out it's gay all the way down,
Exactly.
just play another video game. You're just coming
And
up.
also just a girl. I am too. I'm sick of that trope too.
Hi,
It's
just a girl.
lazy.
Like, it's coming up Snake Eyes every time. Which is why you end up
Yeah.
seeing people pay people like myself to experience the games of yesteryear. Because we've forgotten what real good gameplay is and what real good stories are. So when Alex Dragon offered to pay $31 a title to play through the Ratchet & Clank quadrilogy from the PlayStation 2, I will jump on an opportunity for that, because you can endlessly talk about how quintessential the Ratchet & Clank series is. It was quintessential to people's humor. It was quintessential for the experience of a technically movie game experience, but you got to explore the environment at your leisure, and you got to play the game your way with the content that they provided. So the way that you could enjoy the content of Ratchet & Clank is the same way you could enjoy the content of Jak and Daxter. And people talk about Jak and Daxter endlessly to this day for the same reasons. There's more things to give a shit about in Jak 1, Jak 2, and Jak 3 than there would have ever been from Naughty Dog, despite the fact that they've clearly given up their original roots. Because anything that isn't Uncharted and all of the other movie titles no longer exists to them, as you can see from their holiday card. They don't care about anything that's not making them money based on the relevancy of the current platform titles now. So, if that's the case, the only way that it is kept alive is by the fans. And there are fans that are better stewards and are better protectors and better liaisons of their franchises than the franchise holders themselves. Either entire brands created and destroyed off the business of work that they do, or entire content creators making a better argument for why you need to make a sequel to their games than the content creators themselves. The sky is the limit when it comes to the fans, but unfortunately, those obsessive autistic fans are being told to become gay. Instead of entering through door number 1 and becoming fans of these franchises, they're going on to Reddit and they're being told to put on the skirt and become a Discord kitten.
Because we can't find the girlfriend, we will make the girlfriend.
Or they will become the girlfriend.
That too.
So, like, that's kind of like the whole totality of the answer. It's easier for console franchises, because the more affordable and more accessible the game, the easier it is to get into, which is the other reason why Persona happens to be the one people go towards. Everyone's heard of Persona, everybody will have wanted to play Persona at some point in time. They'll have played a type of SMT Persona title, and that will be their way to get into the franchise. But that's more like Atlas as a franchise than just Persona and just SMT. So if I wanted to go that far, let me go find the Atlas store. If I wanted to go even further, Atlas, Metaphor Fantasio, and then click on the Atlas developer profile. If you start looking at the titles that are there, let's go down the list, chat. You have the Persona series, so you have all of Persona, Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 4, like, Golden, Persona 5, Persona 5 Royale, Persona 3 Portable, which was released for $20, despite the fact that Persona 3 Reload exists. Just keeping that original content put up there. Persona 5 Strikers, which does not play like Persona 5 properly. The SMT series, SMT 5 Vengeance, and SMT 3 Nocturne HD Remaster, and that's it! It's just those two right now on the PC if you wanted to get into SMT.
Oh.
But then if I
just emulate that shit.
But then if I go off video games, and I go only off the video games that exist, and none of the DLC, Metaphor Fantasio, SMT5 Vengeance, Persona 3 Reload, Persona 5 Tacticia, Etrian Odyssey 3 HD, which is an entirely different franchise. Boy, I could talk about Etrian Odyssey till I go blue in the face. And the reason they had to make these into an H3 edition is because they were stuck on the DS and the and the 3DS. To learn about that, you'd have to learn about the meme of FOE, but I don't have time to tell you about the FOE. But
FOE?
FOE. It's a game concept in the game, but it's got a musical. There's a musical bit. You'll have to just get it on your own time. Anyways,
okay.
Persona 3 Portable, Persona 5 Royale, Soul Hackers 2, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, the SMT3 Nocturne Remake, Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 4 Golden, and Catherine Classic.
I need to play Catherine.
These are titles that are listed on Steam for Atlas. Getting into Atlas means getting into the SMT franchise. And if you get into the SMT franchise, Lord help you if you choose to actually play all those video games in one time. Now, you don't have to worry about there being people who are going to be good stewards for the SMT franchise. The game itself is a good steward, because the story is the story.
Oh. Yeah.
You still have the same problem with Persona, where the loudest people are going to be the ones who are the most annoying and amongst the biggest groups that curb your enthusiasm for the video game. But it's the same. It's the same outcome. If you want to play the game, you got to play the story. If you play the story, that means you have to actually play the video game. You can't just watch a streamer or a content creator talk about the video game and say you understand what's in the material. From there, it's all up to you getting involved with it and you controlling your experience, because you're responsible for the buttons that you press. But nobody could be able to tell you that you didn't play SMT. Because if there's certain things that happen, not inside the optional content, but the actual story of the game, they can't tell you that you don't know what's in the video game because you had to play the game. So there's no coping. There's no, actually, they're a pretty princess, girly girl. Either you played the game or you're clearly lying to me. Those are the only interpretations. So it's either this or this. Same thing with Dragon Quest. And Dragon Quest is probably more comparable to the types of games that the industry wants you to play. They want you to play that long-running story that would be familiar with other type games, such as Dark Cloud 2, or even Ni no Kuni. But it's not like games of yesteryear that would have had a similar expectation. So things like the Dot Hack series. Dot Hack on the original quadrilogy, which I started and I never finished. The Dot Hack GU remaster, which have already come and gone. Any Dot Hack video game that CyberConnect 2 could remaster and do, but they won't because they're currently remastering Naruto/Boruto and Demon Slayer. All of those video games that you probably only see as fighting game titles, there's an entire backlog that has plenty of people who will defend it to the death. But it's better that they don't be mainstream. And the reason it's better that they do not be mainstream is you don't want to see your franchise get co-opted by tourists.
Yeah.
It is better your game be obscure and enjoyed by fans that love it than people become fans of the work and like it for the wrong reasons and then completely destroy your love of the content because they care more about being seen as popular than they do about the game being niche. The game being niche and not being played by the modern audience is good for you. Because if your game becomes popular on Twitch, it's done. Because the Twitch audience is the Reddit audience. If Redditors pick up on your video game and they make it popular, that's it. You're never going to hear a single good thing about the game again. You're only going to hear the talking points that make them money as clickbait for a video.
Yeah. That's even more reason why I want to ignore the Twitch audience like the plague.
I mean, until you make content, you don't got to worry about this. This is a problem I got to worry about.
Okay.
But it's like, you want them to enjoy the game for the right reasons. But they clearly only care about the game when it makes them money clicking on the channel's videos. And you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Well, maybe they'll like the game if they play enough of it, and then they'll tell their friends about it. But they only tell them about the mean parts. They don't tell about the story parts. And then you're right back at a wacky woohoo pizza man. And the problem remains.
Yep.
So just sidestep that entire problem. Just don't bring them in. Don't bring them in. Don't bring them in. It's not worth it.
Never bring them in. Don't bring them into your house. Do not invite them over for lunch. Do not do it. Do not bring them to the cookout.
I mean, you can invite them over for lunch. You can talk to them, but you just can't let them play your video game. You can't. If they get into the game for the wrong reasons, you have to tell them, no, this game does not exist. Never mind what I do on the weekends. I don't do anything. Leave my game alone. Because if you don't tell them that, it's gonna be dog shit.
Yep.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's pretty much the whole of the conversation. Geek your games. Do not let people play your games if they cannot appreciate them correctly. keep it the fuck away from the modern audience and pray that never the twain shall meet. Because if they do, we're fucked. Because if they do, we're fucked.
If we aren't already, that's the worrisome thing.
I mean, it's not game over already. There's some people who have shown a willingness to put in time and effort and enjoy the video game for what it is and enjoy the gameplay for what it is. But it always comes at a cost. The cost is relevancy. And the secondary cost is care. If for you money was the factor, they would have to concern themselves with whether or not it is worth the time, the money, and the investment to get people involved with the franchise. So, let's use Persona as an example. Getting people involved with Persona. They're only going to care about Persona 3. So Persona 1 and 2, the PSX titles, they will be ignored. Since they have waifuified and have flanderized the characters into sexy waifus and husbandos to care about, getting them to appreciate the game means what is more important? Getting them to understand what's in the video game, or getting them to appreciate the same things you do about the characters? If they don't get involved in that way, then that's not a big a deal at all. Because the intention and the motives, as Bogdan mentioned, is the thing they care about. So that makes them money. If you're doing it for the love of the game, and they're doing it for money, you have to get them to care more about your thing than their thing. But the tourists, they don't care about your thing. They're only doing it because it's viral. They're going to drop it like a hot potato when they don't make money off of it anymore, or when the memes run stale. But they're also running them staler, faster, because they're running them into the ground.
Yeah.
So
they kill all momentum, but want to benefit from it.
So, when you get into something like Persona, so I see that One Wick is a fan of the Almighty Lolly. If Tal was to try to convince someone to get into Persona, is it worth exposing them to the Reddit cringe to get them to appreciate Persona 3 or Persona 4 or Persona 5 the right way? That's a cost judgment value that you have to do. And more than likely the answer would be no. Same thing as if you were to engage with a conversation with one of the tourists about the video game, and you know for a fact that they're going to play the angle of talking about something that's irrelevant, like trying to make Naruto into being a transgender allegory, despite the fact that they're not. Is it worth your sanity trying to convince them to appreciate the game correctly and stop them from being a tourist? The cost value is either going to be yes or no. And then, from there, take that viewpoint, and then do that at the position of somebody inside the syndication of Sega and Atlas. Do we care to pander to the audience of people who are in love with this interpretation of our characters, and then we do that again in a title like Neo, The World Ends With You? Or do we just let the characters be the characters, and whatever interpretations they make about the characters, we just give them a thumbs up and say, yup, 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 because thumbs up, yup, that's great, yup, that's great fan art, yup, I love how you inflated them like that, yup, damn, that belly's really big, poggers, yup, yup, yup. The yes man strategy keeps the ball rolling, but eventually they will mine it out of content, and from the level of the executive, they just make a new game. But for the fans of Metaphor that are not like the fucking leftist Redditor fans that are acting like Alyssa Mercante, do you want to have a conversation with Alyssa Mercante?
No.
Yes, exactly.
Has finally come for me.
It's a fucked up math equation, but it's a math equation that you have to do. Because if you don't do that math equation, you're about to risk your sanity. Because no one's going to care about your work like the rest of the people that could care about your work. Because they don't care. So, no matter how you do that math equation, once you do that math, it's completely up to you and what happens next from your viewpoint. So as long as you're willing to do the math, and you know nah, shit's fucked, it's not worth it, then you know not to have that cost analysis anymore. You don't have to think about it. It's never worth it. I'll never have that conversation. But you close yourself off from the potential for having conversations like this if you always never lean in. That's one of the consequences I actually had before in the past. Why would I want to have content like this? Why would I want to reach out? Why would I want to talk to people? Because every time I give people the opportunity to have an open door so that they can be able to talk to me about things that they're passionate about, the people who choose to do so are not the passionate people, it's the assholes that then make it completely obnoxious for everybody else. But, you know, you just have to pivot away from that. Like, sure, but I could also just ban them and then talk to the people who actually want to have a conversation. And that then leads to a different calculation by proxy. Instead of concerning yourself with the opinions of people that otherwise would be dishonest and disingenuous, you instead have a conversation with the people who give a shit and show that, at the very least, they care in their own way. They just don't care the same way you do.
I cannot let my efforts be in vain. Burn to ash.
And from there, you can be able to say, well, maybe they don't see things the same way that I see things, but they're clearly not just trying to make money off of this. They want to be involved. They want to be indentured. But no matter how that really goes for whatever interest for whatever franchise a person could get involved with, the result still exists and remains the same, which is doing that math analysis. Is it worth it to have a conversation with Alyssa Mercante? If, just to demonstrate what you think at the top end, maybe. You know? Just to be like, here's the reason why I don't think she's a good steward to talk about it, or why she doesn't have good opinions to talk about it. Here's reasons 1 through 5. And it's like, you ask her a very clear question that only has one correct answer. And she demonstrates that, like Adi Shankar, she's one of those people that doesn't really truly appreciate the content that is available to the video game. She sees it more like an investment for you to only care from what she thinks is the best thing to get into. So she wants to get into the annoying shit in the fandom rather than the useful shit in the fandom. She wants to talk about Anoita. She wants to talk about that one character in Persona 4 who's supposed to be talking about how gay he is, when actually, I think his name's Tanida. Tanida's backstory is about how he appreciates feminine things and is fighting some type of internal inherent gayness that he otherwise would feel with his work or for his life story. All of the subtext into text stuff that would be relevant with those games, instead of a horrible version of that being given to you to care about, you are instead debating the actual things that are factually important and that matter to you collectively. And then from there, the conversation builds and grows and grows and builds and builds and grows. So even if she herself, Alyssa, is retarded as fuck, by having that conversation with her, you're able to show for more people, actually, this is really good. This is really good content that's worthy of investment and time and involvement. You found like-minded people who understand things, and you don't have to be concerned and worried. Like all of that collectively together, all of that collectively together creates the backbone that then creates new fans. And rather than being Redditor fans that only care about the memes, you instead can now become a proper fan. Because you care about the actually correct things. Like the actual story, instead of transgender politics. It's kind of like the reasons why people don't like doing debates. They don't like doing debates because they don't like having debates with people that don't actually respect the content that they're watching. They don't like having discussions with people that have demonstrated the thing they care about most is the never-ending dog shit that is immaterial to their involvement, rather than how they actually appreciate the games that they're playing, where they are, and meeting them where they are with the stuff that could be important.
It has been that we are before us. Is it with this? We can go by place. Let us use this money. Time is
To simplify, without extra yapping, having a conversation with an anti-fan is only important if there are more fans that you could potentially convert if you had that conversation. So, depending on your size, let's say if I had a conversation with Alyssa Mercante, I probably wouldn't enjoy it, but I'd at least see where we would get to see if she could be able to have a conversation about the shit that I found to be important versus the shit that she found to be important. Because I personally don't think she could be able to manage it or be able to swing it. Because as far as she's ever been concerned, it seems that she's only ever concerned with the part that gets her clout, rather than the part that's actually important, which is the content. So, without the investment towards material that she could have based on being involved with the most annoying parts of the fandom versus the most important parts of the fandom, the sky's still the fucking limit. Whereas if the only reason she gets involved with anything is because she just wants to be annoying as fuck, what do we do with this? What is left to be done with that material from that type of person? And what could you actually argue is worthy with that work that is left behind from where that person wants to talk and behave about the shit they want to be involved with? So, yes, it could be important to have that conversation with other people and potentially get to know if they're, worth the conversation. But you shouldn't look at it that way, because that's a very easy way to fall into a trap of saying, well, you're not worthy of my time. And it's supposed to be about love, not about what you hate,
Or what you're indifferent to.
Yes. As well as the fact that most debates are cringe as fuck, because instead it becomes a shouting match where they're trying to win field points for their in-group, and both groups walk away thinking, well, actually he won, because that one quip that he made about his personality was funny. Or, no, Alyssa won, because she talked about Grums for 18 minutes, and then compared herself to the correct answer against Grums. Like, there's nothing to be said about it that's good. At all. Let alone, if you hate watch the debate and all you're doing is watching it for reasons that have nothing to do with what's being discussed, the reason why you watch the debate is because, wow, look at how Alyssa Mercante got beat the fuck out by that question Carl asked. It's not the same thing as being interested in, like, damn, Carl's got a really big, extensive knowledge about these JRPGs. I should ask him sometime on his live stream. Like, when you're there for drama and for, like, culture, and the culture is not worth stemming, maybe it's not worth keeping that culture alive. So, for Persona, maybe it's actually better that the culture of Persona dies with the Redditors, and you just enjoy it yourself by your lonesome. And when your friends ask you, is it a good game, you tell them, yeah, but stay away from the Redditors. Because then it's like a containment. They're only ever going to be interested in stuff in that viewpoint, so they're not going to venture outside of that fandom, and it won't be that big of a deal. Especially when you think of that from the viewpoint of the movie games, right? Because right now, One Wick is talking about Dad of Boy. The remake of God of War is bad because instead of actually talking about meaningful stuff that would then be recapped by a YouTuber, talking about the therapy speak and the modular thinking that Kratos is trying to teach Atreus throughout the entire story, they use it as a backbone to then sell you shit you don't need, or to try and make you into a communist.
Yeah.
We just got out the era.
Communism.
We just got out of the era of wisecrack, trying desperately to make you into a communist and read Vivek. Vivek, I think it's called, but Vivek is the last name. To read and watch Vivek content, because they desperately had a love of Rick and Morty and and depression porn content from things like BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty. Or even Solar Opposites. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Because if a person were to go into that discussion with the intention of learning something, they don't really have anything to learn from. And if they do learn something, they're definitely not going to be learning it because somebody went out of their way to make sure they learned something useful. They're only learning it because that other person was bad, and that person cared more to learn about it themselves. And then once they learned about it themselves, they kept getting involved with that material because they didn't trust other people to tell them about it. And at that point, the only good thing you did is that you created a YouTuber. You created a YouTuber, and they'll be able to tell people in the future useful shit about the content compared to everybody else there who didn't when they had a chance to. So it's like, that's the only good positive that comes away from debates on the high end. Yeah, I think we've talked this conversation to death now.
I feel like I've barely said anything.
Hey, you asked me the question, I just sit here and I yap. That's why it's called Yap-In with Carl. But shh. Anything else I can help you with?
There was a question in my mind, but I feel like that was like nearly 10 minutes ago. Oh shit, because my initial question was, that I thought of because it was relating to adaptations and whether they would have a good or bad impact, and it's like, well, it depends on the fans. It's like, okay. Do you think the whole, like, because it relates also to the people who are trying to make these adaptations, the clout farming, do you think that'll die off when they move on to something else like they will from superhero, like, cape shit? And do you think even that will recover? Do you think superhero stuff can actually, not the, I guess, more so the genre and multimedia genre, not just movies, but do you think that can recover the same way that hopefully video games can recover from something like this? Because they're their own industry, but comics as its own are floundering. Do you think this is kind of over for superhero cape shit, or is there possibly a new renaissance coming that's smaller, but it'll be something more personal and something actually natural, organic, not media pushed?
The recovery of the genre, as well as the content that will come from the recovery of people concerned with the content and the drama, is going to be kept alive by how relevant they work towards a solution with the monetizers of the content, and the involvement of that generation of the content, and whether or not they will move on and find something else to do for the content glazers who are doing it to be relevant, is based on whether or not that thing goes out of style, and then if other people involved with that work were to give it a chance to be renewed. It all starts from whether or not it even remains relevant moving forward, which is a good chance that it might not. Like a really good chance that it might not.
Okay.
And the reason why it might not is because in order for it to remain good and relevant, that means putting in a lot of effort to make that relevancy matter. So, for content production, the thing that matters most with the content production is whether or not I or you, or other people like I or you, were the ones to get engaged in that material in the first place. So, it could be possible that someone like you or I is able to make work that is worthy and viable of involvement and of interest, where they get involved with the work because they care a lot about that material. So if they care a lot about superhero movies and they want to get back to a time with the Tobey Maguire era of movies rather than the MCU era of movies, it is
Or
the
even
same.
Phase 1 MCU era, even.
Oh, well, yeah, that came after the Tobey Maguire era, where it was a obscure film, but people loved it, and it was a different time. The actors cared more, and they clearly put in their effort. Versus the MCU,
And a lot on the line.
where in the MCU they can just pop in. It's like, yeah, I'm in an MCU film, and then you go back to doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their involvement with that material and that product is based solely on whether or not they are invested in that work that they're doing, and whether or not they will get back some level of involvement in that way that gives them a reason to exist and achieve and believe and be relevant, versus not being relevant. So, in a lot of ways, if that were to be a factor, that they were to even add into what's potentially possible, that potential starts with something else entirely. So getting into that work, caring about that work, giving a fuck about that work, starts from zero. So for them to care, or to be invested or involved, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, first starts with them caring about what's potentially available. So if it falls out of style, yes, less people will be trying to get glaze off the work in the future than they are right now. Right now, most of them are invested with doing something with that medium and that work because they can justify getting involved with it in that way, where they can see a level of investment that otherwise would not have already existed. And then from there, their interest is only kept further up involved based on whether or not they think it's worth the time to be invested with it. Meaning, cape shit falls off, people stop talking about cape shit. The entire era of movies that are going to be made by the Marvel, and they're going to be made by James Gunn's current visionary work for DC, lives and breathes by whether or not people care about it. You'll definitely see some Ian Miles Chongs, and you'll definitely see some Grums trying to make clout off of it. But it won't be as big and it won't be as often. Because they only gain relevance when they have clout to steal in the first place. And people will not care about it as much. So they won't be that concerned in that regard anyways. So you will see a better return for the work, because you will see people actually caring about getting involved with the work rather than only being involved because that's my favorite content creator, I really love their work. People will be like, Grums who? And you won't have to think about that part of the equation. So that's not so much less a non-factor than it is just, you won't have to worry about people asking who he is. They're not going to care. Now, as for the other side of that equation, where they will care because their viewpoint will begin and end from that jumping off point, where the reason why they care is because just that little bit of investment is what keeps them going. It'll be less of a problem then, but it'll be slightly easier to deal with because they will be involved for the right reasons. So, if a person cares really passionately about Marvel Rivals, and they're clearly not a gooner, they're not going to be saying, I'm really a fan of this work because just look at her pixels, bro. Bro, her pic... They're going to say, I'm a big fan of Emma Frost, and I'm finally tired and finally happy that people are going to see her for who she is, as an intelligent, smart, capable character, and rather than just fucking gooner bait. I love her titties too, but they're going to learn who this person is, and they're going to see her for more than her body. That's one attestment that will occur, and it will be obvious to any person who cares to listen to it as to why that will be some of the best stuff and the biggest things to care about. Because unfortunately right now, that is the problem that we are witnessing when it comes to the normal kind of conversations people get involved in. When it comes to things like Marvel Rivals. Because it's the same viewpoint, same company. Maybe because of Marvel Rivals having a popular character, they recast Emma Frost to be played by a thicker actress in the future. Who knows what happens then? Sky's the limit. But
Yeah.
it can only change based on where the industry is right now. So the change will come as time progresses. So it's not directly in front of you, so you don't have to think about it, you don't have to worry about it. But if it does happen that way, and it does all fall off, where the Grums and the Ian Miles Chongs can't steal content from people like me, or steal the fun from people like you, to then become fans of people like me and you and others like us doing the work in the future, doing the good work that is given to us. If that is the part where we are most concerned with what's available to us versus what's not available to us, we can take more time to be concerned with that and know that it's for the best rather than the worst because of those problems that otherwise would not have been discussed or would not have been a focus. So, at the very least, based on what you care for, if you're a fan of cape shit, maybe Marvel Rivals, whether you play it or not, gets you the version of your character that you love. And that's good. Or, because NetEase owns it, it goes the way of the dodo, because too many people are horny, and all of a sudden, we're all speaking Chinese, and we're all speaking Mandarin. It's something here.
Talking about the snow bunny hypnotizing.
Look, see now, before I let you go, I am tired of this goddamn slander. Snow bunny does not mean white woman. It means white woman dating a black man, okay? I'm tired of these goddamn comments. I am tired of these goddamn insults. I'm certainly tired of people saying that Emma Frost looks like Sarah Jane. I'm tired of it. Sick of it! You people are repeating the same 3 jokes! Get better jokes! Yeah,
All the more opportunity for you to make those jokes, Carl. All the more opportunity.
No. It's dumb. It's tired, it's old, and it's stale. They ran into the ground. It's not funny anymore. I made it lame.
Oh no, does that mean I'm lame?
Of course.
Oh no.
No. You are not lame.
Yay. Yay.
The unfortunate and never-ending dog shit fest that they chose to make with those characters, and specifically that meme itself alone, that's probably the best example of what I mean with the stuff that we're victimized by, that we don't get to enjoy properly because of that desire to make it into a never-ending shitpost instead of enjoying it the right way around. We are at the mercy of those people making those never-ending references and making it lame to be a fan. I hate it. There's only one
I
people.
guess the question is also like, can things like genres of content survive the corporate sort of revisionism? Could also things like games and anime or what have you being localized badly also potentially recover? Because that'll hurt the brand, because it's something like, it's a bad first impression not only for old guard of the content itself, but also it leaves a bad impression on the new customer base that you're trying to bring in to buy your product, because this is going to stain their perspective of it or give them a bad taste in their mouth, and that's not good for anybody.
Yes, this is actually one of the things that is good about people now being more vocal about their dislike and discomfort about this on social media websites. Localization is a terror and blight because the people who are making adaptations are clearly making adaptations because they either want to become an Eddie Shankar or they want to become a Gerald Apocalypse. So, if somebody was going to be like Jello Apocalypse, by that I mean, for those that are missing the context, that you have somebody who clearly has contempt for the media, and they are doing it because they do not respect the material, and they want to ruin it so that they can destroy your favorite hobby because they don't like your hobby. It is good that people are seeing and are turning the tide against the developers and the writers because they're making you have to put more care into the work. So, if they fuck up the localization, and then they ask, why don't we have a big American fan base? The person from that fan base says, well, it's because they did this, Mr. Nintendo, sir. And Nintendo of Japan looks at it and says, who the fuck fucked up my game like this? Who did this? Who did this? And they point their finger over at Nintendo of America, and Doug Bowser says, bro, I ain't doing this shit. They did this shit. Then you get a long chain of Mr. Meeseeks. And then by the time you finally get to the final, but he wrote me into this! Then they point their finger at Jello Apocalypse. Then you can have Mr. Nintendo go, oh, so you are the one fucking up my deals. And they will never work in the business again. Do that multiple times for each of the things that are bothering the thing, making your thing less popular. Do it for the localizers, do it for the voice actors, do it for product managers that are running their mouth constantly on social media because they perceive themselves to be safe in their job security. Do it enough times, especially to something that has the stock prices controlled with shareholder meetings, and it's the same thing that would happen at a shareholder meeting. Hey, Mr. Bowser, why is the stock prices on Nintendo down? Why are people saying set the prices lower? Why are they making jokes about raise the tariff prices? Hey, Mr. Disney, Mr. Bob Iger, what's all this bullshit with this political diatribe inside of Star Wars? Why is it that people are angry about what you did to this actress? I want answers. You start making it you make it less politically accessible and financially lucrative for them to destroy the platform. And you thank all these people like Jello Apocalypse for ruining the material of the content. And you clearly get the feedback loop that solves the problem, which is you're making my gameplay shit, you're making my content shit, you're making my franchise shit. So we just take that belt to your ass. We're gonna put boots to asses. And come hell or high water, you're gonna look like an empty office employed by fucking Funimation. No one will excuse that as acceptable. Entirely. Also, you did do it wrong, Buster. Exclamation point, Yap-In, but it's only 1P. The timer in the corner, Diego, tells them how long they have until we move on to the next segment. Anyways, your time has long been up, Aqua. Your time has long been up.
My bad.
It's okay. No, it's on me. I chose to keep it going longer. Anyways, good topic. Thank you for coming through.
Yep.
Goodbye. So, yeah, just to go off that for a little bit. When it comes to things like anime adaptations and anime franchises, you are lucky that the people who hate the work have clearly shown themselves to be haters. This shit could have gone a lot worse for you guys. And I mean a lot worse for you guys. The fact that they outed themselves as fucking haters that were willing to kill their franchises into the dirt by being horrible about the content that they were making, the fact that they destroyed their own credibility by truly trying to make the franchises into their own personal fucking escape grounds, you are lucky that they outed themselves. If they had wanted to go the way of the, what was that woman's name? Allison Rapp? If they wanted to handle it the way that they had handled the adaptations and localizations for Fire Emblem, you would have never been able to get justice. But because they happened to go the route that they did, you guys can get justice. Because they chose to go the route of treating people like Victor Joseph Monona like dog shit, because they desperately didn't want him to be more popular, because they wanted his popularity and his fan loyalty for themselves, you now get better content. And you'll see them go out of business. Everybody wins. Everybody's happy about it. Nobody's left out. It's the greatest return to form that you could have hoped for, chat. Because imagine a timeline where the timeline wasn't talking about how they fucked up the adaptation for these works. Imagine if people gave them excuses to say, bro, it wasn't really that bad. You'd still be getting dog shit content to no end. Because they went the route that they did. You only got those problems. So now it's not a big deal. And everybody happy. Everybody happy, everybody safe. Because it was wild there for a second. I wouldn't have thought that they would have done something about it. But you know, they did. So, not that big a deal anymore. Itchy. Arm's itchy. Even before the vote vid, I thought he was an ass. He had that I'm right, you're wrong, shut up tone of voice. True. Bring back up a little bit. The skate anime and Dragon Maid that had that kind of shit right there, just to pander with the leftist fan base themselves. See, when it comes to Dragon Maid, I'm not sure if you knew this, KC, but looking into the criminal activities of the brother of the Dragon Maid voice actress for Kobayashi, that actress's brother got involved in some things that should mean that they should probably never have made a fucking fundraiser to try and get him out of jail. I've talked about it before, but it's funnier if you go through the logs and you go find that on the Internet Archive. It's really funny if you do. Because, like, that's the level of outreach that they have for the majority with that stuff. Most of the people, when it comes to anime adaptations and anime drama, they are able to get away with it because people know them for that work. If they didn't have anime fans choosing to be the ones that told people about the content, most people would never know about their dirty, dirty, dirty laundry. And because we can tell you about their dirty, dirty, dirty laundry, that is the only reason why things turned out well for that scenario. They should not have turned out well, considering how much power they actually had in their favor. But it just so happened to work out. And it just so happened that they're really cocky and really stupid. Give me a second while I clear this map. Finally got to the end game. And my believe build is working wonders. Right. Hello. I haven't seen you in a while, man. My back is itchy. My back is itchy. Dragon Mage dub acting was good, but the localization was really bad. Yes, it was. But a lot of that was because of the inward shit that was happening at Funimation. Work. Thank you. A lot of that was happening to the inward shit that was happening at Funimation. They didn't really do a good thing about that for a while, because the incestuous club of voice actors have had a stranglehold on the industry and its incoming talent for 25 years. And the problem is that the money that is to be made from voice acting doesn't inherently just come from video games. It comes from any type of adaptation you can get involved into. So for that, look no further than Arcane, right? Arcane is supposed to be the opportunity that Riot Games can have to get people involved with the world building of their characters. But those characters are only loved for those things those characters are loved for, right? So let's use Echo and Jinx. Echo has given a reinterpretation and a new, faithful way for black people to express themselves. Because no, I'm not some hoodweeb. I'm just like my hero Echo, the Snow Bunny Whisperer. You look at these locks can train a white woman from being crazy for miles on end. Shit like that. It's priceless. But, you know, only up to a point. Only up to a point. Welcome, Marcus. How you doing?
Hello. Oh, God. Sorry, still recovering from being sick. Oh, my boss is not gonna like that. I missed like 3 fucking days, but oh well. Anyways, I had the misfortune of watching the Devil May Cry series. And yeah, what the fuck were they thinking?
Roll back to the first hour of the broadcast and you'll get into exactly what was happening in Addie's brain. The short version is that Shankar is a Virgil fanboy, and he was trying to recontextualize the entirety of the game. He was trying to recontextualize the entirety of the franchise in the game in order to make Virgil the right one. Because Virgil's the guy that wanted to do the things to get power. He's not cringe. He was based.
Right. Clearly. No, in... what was it exactly? But no, like, even the writing was so fucking bad.
Hey,
like,
that's right, they do. I don't want to tell you.
You mean to tell me that the main antagonist's plan was, oh, if we bring the two worlds together, equilibrium will happen? No, the fuck it won't. In fact, you'll make humanity far worse off. You'll make everything worse. But he's the good guy apparently. Okay, sure.
That's what I'm telling you. Reddit atheism. Not even once.
What? What the fuck is this writing? And I still have people that are fucking. I still see people fucking dick writing this, going like, oh yeah, because it's a non-canon story, it's totally okay. Then why did it have DMC in its name?
Treating it like it's a non-canon story doesn't make sense, because why are you using songs from Devil May Cry 5? Those songs are leitmotifs that are relevant for those characters. You're using Bury the Light, and you're using Devil Trigger, which more accurately belongs as the leitmotifs of Virgil and Nero respectively for fucking DMC3's interpretation of Dante. That doesn't make fucking sense. Even if you ignore the context of having characters use songs for them that are not belonging and deserving of them, even if I wince my eyes and accept it, the tone is off. As the tone's off, I don't put my faith in it being good. And then I care even less about the content. Because if you don't even care to give me Devil May Cry 3, why would I watch this when I could just go play the game over again?
Yeah. And that's why I was just sitting there watching and going like, what the fuck is this? And then somebody has to tell me that, like, the politics of this have nothing to do with it. It's like, then why is it in the fucking show?
Because they really wanted to talk about Bush.
Yeah, talking about, you know, Bush. But no, I saw that, and they just didn't stop giving this motherfucker money. Just stop.
That was another thing I went over. In the future, he will run out of money because the only thing that keeps him afloat is this content creation that he's doing here. Once he runs out of money, because all of his promises were given to him based on how he was doing things with Castlevania, when all of that dries up, he'll have nothing left. And he'll have to make actual content. Until then, we're stuck with him. And all the clout that comes from the conversations being had around him, and others like him.
Oh, lovely. So I get to see this shit more for even longer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it.
It could get a lot worse, bro. It could get a lot worse.
It could. I also read as well that apparently he had like sexual misconduct allegations towards him for Castlevania, and I'm just wondering, like, so he's also a sex pest? Really?
That was also a thing that I went. Man, you came in at the exact right stream, but at the wrong time. We went through all of this together.
Yes.
When horror first showed me it before we started recording for Nocturne yesterday, my exact reply when I got to those lines was "ew," because I already knew everything about him. I made the prediction myself. Again, Carl was right. I made the prediction myself. His behavior was not consistent with a person who really cares about the work that he's doing. Then when I read that he's being a sex pest on top of it, just ew. Because it falls in line with the reason why he can't make any more work that is relevant for his business on all his content. Because they all have either heard about or they do not trust him to be involved with that media work. And the fact that he's being a sex pest, it's like, bro, could you have gotten into any other goddamn line of work? You had to become a fan of this material so you can try to glaze your favorite character that you want to cosplay as? Could you at least learn about what his personality is? Instead of trying to make him into, actually, he's cool to me because he reminds me of the kind of guy I could be. It's like, bro, you're not Virgil. Stop it. You're not Virgil. You're not going to be Virgil. And you'll never be Virgil. There's no reason for you to try. Just give up, bro. Give up now. You have zero purpose. But you know, that's it's going to be up to him. It's going to be up to him and all the people who give him money. If he can get less money, it's for the better. But that's probably not going to be what happens. Probably not. Probably not. But you know, whatever happens there, it is what it is, and we'll just have to live with it. We will just have to live with it.
Yeah. And I'm just... It's even worse when you realize that, like... Which he was told to, like, yeah, no, like, I'm not... Like, he's not going to be on the show anymore. Like, he's not going to be on the Castlevania show anymore. And I'm just like, oh, I wonder how that could happen. In reality, yeah. We figured out how that happened.
I mean, consider if that was your life's work, chat. Your entire life is to try and make popular content, but you just can't stop being a sex pest in Hollywood. You're Indian Brett Weinstein. Or, excuse me, Henry Weinstein. I'm forgetting Weinstein's first name. Anyways, you're fucking Indian
Harvey
Weinstein. Yeah, you're Indian Harvey Weinstein. The only reason why they keep you around is because you're useful to get the Redditors on their side. And outside of that, you have no purpose to existence. I swear I would probably kill myself. I swear I would kill myself. I'd be so disappointed. I'd be so disappointed, man. Well, that's neither here nor there. That can't be the only thing you wanted to talk about.
No, it's not that. Fucking hell. Okay, I can't do this mission alone. Fuck. That was not the only thing I wanted to talk about primarily. However, it was one of the main things that severely ticked me off about last night.
Okay. What else pissed you off a lot last night?
Oh, well. Just DPS players in most games. Basically, people. I played Marvel Rivals last night,
Is now using the
and I ran into the situation that people kind of just play what they want and don't care about cohesion. Which, sure, fine, whatever. I guess, cohesion is a very. Not many people are going to do cohesion in that regard, but it would be nice to have a little semblance of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm asking for too much, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. But yes, that's genuinely it.
Okay.
Aside from that, I don't really have any other topics to necessarily talk about.
Okay. Tell me about your day. How are you still sick? Or did you get better
Sick.
and you got sick again?
No, I'm recovering still from the original. What happened was that on Saturday, I had a feeling in my throat, and I realized what it was immediately. I was like, fucking hell. So I couldn't go in that day. Got that excuse, that was all good. And then my body decided, it'd be a great idea. Let's, make sure that one of your ears is blocked so you can't hear what actual, people are doing inside your bank. So for 2 out of the work days that I went in to go work, I could barely hear people.
That's fun.
And I just basically said, hey, to my boss, I'm not good. On Friday, I said, hey, I'm not coming in until I get this figured out. And on the same day, I got it figured out. And now my hearing's okay.
Okay.
So my hearing's okay. I just got a slightly scratchy throat, and my nose is having still the usual sinus problem of too much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, oh yeah, oh my gosh, new hires are there's a new hire who I'm training, and the new hire is she's okay. She doesn't keep track of money that well, and that's kind of my concern.
Mm-hmm.
Or she isn't necessarily fully willing to wait for everybody to help her. Which caused a situation of me waiting very late into my work shift to solve a mystery, which I'm very good at, and only one person gets pissed off me when I try to do my investigation thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hint: it's the other veteran of the branch.
Okay.
Because she thinks that I'm getting very nosy, where in reality, my nosiness is done for the literal reason of, hey, I'm able to find and solve things very easily. Do you mind if I help? And she'll go like, what are you doing? Why are you in this business? It's none of your concern. You see how this can cause strife, yes?
Yeah.
I don't know. She also is the same person that I did mention that she was the person that had an issue with one of my good friendly coworkers, and was because of her being, what was it? It was mainly because she didn't always check the money and see if it was like torn or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So she got so upset one point that she threatened to inflict violence upon that coworker.
And did she get reprimanded and or fired?
Nope. Because everybody's like, oh, it's just she doesn't mean it. She's currently sick, you know, because she has a fucking tumor. But there's a point where that kind of goes, you know, sideways of like, well, do you always have to kind of treat her like that with kid gloves? Do any of her words mean anything?
I feel like that's a failure of somebody's job, and somebody should get fired for that. Because if you did that, somebody would definitely fire you for that.
Yes.
Ooh.
Because I'm sitting here like, I'm sorry, if I said the same things to the same, like, I understand that, hey, you know, maybe it's tenure, maybe it's like that, but that's still just a very giant oversight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't really give a shit if that's like, you know, like, but regardless, they don't think that she actually means it, which sure she doesn't, but at the same time she's the one that's backsassing and, you know, talking mad shit to the customers sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
It'll be a case of she doesn't mean it until she does, and then they'll possibly make more excuses because they've already started to make them now, so it's going to stop them from making them in the future. It's a serious concession that they are likely to make that will be a concern for you down the line at some point if they choose
The
to.
worst part is that because of me having, you know, the kind of status that I do, I have to be the one to kind of fix shit. So this becomes an issue of... This becomes my issue solely due to the fact that, hey, if I don't fucking fix this, somebody's about to get in trouble big time.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely one of the problems that would happen with that. What else has happened to your job?
Worried about it because I missed 3 days of work, and not in a row, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a big cause for concern.
Mm-hmm. Later on in this week, because this is the second week of April, this will be the week that we begin playing Helldivers 2. And at the same time, once I finish with South of Midnight, because one of our server members have requested it, I'll be playing through the entire quadrilogy of Ratchet and Clank on camera.
Ooh, alright. How is South of Midnight?
House South of Midnight is Black Alice in Wonderland, but bigotry and racism, because somebody's grandma didn't like that their white son liked a black woman. Most of the drama that is at fault of the game is on the backs of SBI having fucked with the original story. There is a very clear story that was there that has been fucked with by all the cooks in the kitchen. And because it was fucked with, and the gameplay loop is the same as Dad of War and all the other movie games, which is a barely there upgrade-a-thon, where collecting content is optional, but is necessary if you actually want to understand what's going on. The gameplay loot is a hallway. The actual collecting is every time there's a combat segment, and every combat section with certain skills are bad until you get enough skills to make it good, and then there's not enough utility and customization to make it relevant and nice. All of your relevant collecting and understanding is that the gameplay was an afterthought, because there are tools to turn it off entirely and focus on the story. None of the content of the combat is good, but they insist on making it seem like it could play like a character action game, like Devil May Cry, but it's not. It's all completely based on buttons and cooldowns. Enemies have no true method of hit-stun control, where you're not able to put them into a form of knock-up, knock-back, or disruption without the use of your spells. Your spells are based on a cooldown that only refreshes as you kill enemies, but there's no giant reduction of cooldown where you can actually get access to your spells faster. It's just based on time and survival. Enemies hit like trucks on the hardest difficulty, and outside of that, they are a nuisance that stands between you and the next story-based segment. Characters are an entirely separate topic that I will not spoil if you're not interested in being spoiled, especially for those that are here to listen. But what I can tell you is there are 3 types of white people. There is the good, down-home Southern Cajun man that ain't never done nothing no wrong. There's the troubled black man, black woman, white man, and white woman that, listen, they're not bad. Bad stuff happened to them. And then there is the whites, like the grandmother Bunny Flood, where the entire story, at least the internal story, hinges on whatever the fuck Bunny Flood has done to be involved with the drama of the story, and her granddaughter, your protagonist, Hazel Flood, as she goes on the mission to go find her mother Lacey. So, again, not spoiling, but for one of the characters that was a boyfriend after Trey, which is the white dad, died, one of the boyfriends of Lacey, like LaRon is a nice, down-home black male, but he's just got some inner trauma and pain. And part of Hazel's journey is to learn about these troubles that affect these people and the mythical creatures inside of the backwood of Prospero, Mississippi, by effectively snooping into the stillness. Because all of the game scenes of dialogue and story are delivered through the stillness. Narrated to you by the catfish, who is another mythical creature and character that's voiced in the story, who helps her by taking her from place to place. He is effectively the comparison to the Cheshire Cat. And unlike the Cheshire Cat, the catfish is the best character in the game. For reasons that when you when you see the scene in question that we all laughed at on, what was that? Was that day 1 or day 2, chat? I think that was day 2. Day 2 of the content, somewhere around chapter 4 to chapter 7. There's no better character in that series, but all of it hinges on character development and character involvement. And the problem with the character development and character involvement is that you don't really give a shit about the characters, because you're stuck in these combat sections waiting for the next piece of content to come through. And it's irritating, because the puzzles aren't that difficult. You can figure them out. And because it's a hallway, much like, or rather not like Devil May Cry, much like Final Fantasy 13. No, well, yes, but Final Fantasy 13. the actual structure of the map's layout is not like that of Ratchet and Clank. It wants to feel like it wants to be those three titles that I mentioned. Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Cooper. It wants to have the animation style of Sly Cooper, it wants to have the game design of Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, and it wants to have the movie game feel, but with the customization of Jak and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank respectively. It wants to desperately give you a reason to care about its goings-on, but you're stuck there having to figure out where the forward path is. And they have a health upgrade system that's like the blue orbs of Devil May Cry through the form of health filaments. So far, there's been one every chapter. And the floofs, the upgrade material, which would be the red orb comparison, you don't get a large dump of them from doing combat sections. You get 5 to 10 max. In order for you to truly upgrade your spells and your combat tools, you have to basically explore the environment. But the amount that you get is so small that if you really only wanted to explore to find the health filament, the levels are so very straightforward that discovering where the health filament is easy because you can see them from a distance. They are color-coded in that way. You don't have the problem of the yellow plague syndrome, although their version is to use a white chalk edge outline, but it's much more contextual, like the rusted side of a shed and creases where the metal has bent inwards from being hit by on tools has little white lines on them that tell you, hey, this is a wall that you can wall run against. Or the white outline of rocks in the distance tells you, hey, these are rocks that you can climb. So by using your eyes and looking around the environment, a very beautiful environment, mind you. The music is good. The art is good. The art animation style is good. It's like looking at a Leica film. But outside of the parts that have nothing to do with gameplay, the gameplay shit!
So, okay.
And it's not to say that the voice actors that they've chosen for this project are bad, but I know that the lead actress that they had chosen, the one that is the representative character, she is a replacement for the woman that was originally there to do most of the voice acting in the mocap. Because of SBI's involvement, they chose to replace that actress for reasons that could be only described as she wasn't black enough. And there are multiple moments in the story where they make it extremely obvious to your face that this is an SBI involvement. In the beginning of the game, when you're first being introduced to Hazel's character, Hazel is holding a photograph of her track meets because she's a track and star character. She used to do running in school. She's holding a picture of her friends, and she's talking in the background with another running poster as a poster on her back wall to the camera about, man, I'm really gonna miss running with all my friends. And then from the poster over her shoulder to the picture in her hand to the fucking medal that's hanging down from where she puts the picture back in her house, and then the other medals that are in the room that she has, it's like, yes, game, I get it. She's a black athlete. I get it. I get it. Can I have some can I discover the visual aids myself? I don't need you to tell me that she's a black athlete. Let me figure it out. They are very unsubtle with beating yourself over the head with these examples of character development. To the point that even with the characters, when they do involve them, it's like, if we are going to turn into Kim Blair, for example, if I'm going to have a white man, and if that white man has to be a white man, and if that white man's going to be a white man that loves animals, can we make him a white man who's fat and is out of work and also sports because he had a career-ending injury? Yes, she is mixed race. Yes, her character is mixed race. So, the problem is, especially, good that you brought that up, chat, in the beginning of the story, when you're being introduced to Hazel and her mom, Lacey, there's a photo on the wall where you get to see Trey. At no point in time, except when you finally meet Bunny's character, do they make it clear that the Flood family are filthy fucking rich. And in this story, the entire time that she's having this argument with her mother who gets lost in this magical journey because she was arguing with her daughter, being aggressive for no reason in the middle of a top speed storm that was threatening to flood and destroy their house and send it down the river because their house is suspended above the river in flash flood waters on cinder blocks. At no point in time does it really set up that Bunny Flood is supposed to be an evil, monstrous racist. But as the story progresses, especially immediately once the chapter 1 segment truly begins, all of a sudden, Hazel just wants to say, I didn't need my grandma anyways, after running through the storm to go to her mother. And on the way to her grandmother's mansion, she runs by her dad's grave, the only grave in town that seems to have a photo on its epitaph, because the rest of them are bare. She goes to her to complain to her to get help. And whether or not it was because they fucked with the story or not, or they destroyed the character and something was left on the cutting room floor or not, they're desperate to make you feel like Bunny is not a inherited child that is mixed race. Because they are desperate to make you be like, yes, Southern, Cajun, Cajun, Southern, Southern, Cajun, Southern, Southern, Cajun, Cajun, Southern. But Southern and Cajun does not mean black. But they keep behaving that way. Every single time it's like, oh my god, I can't believe that they did this to the abandoned people out in the town. And in the lore segment it says, the Flood family. The Flood family. So at any point in time, especially if it comes up in the future, because we're currently at the beginning of chapter 8, which is a section that has to do with the monster she's about to go fight, the mythical creature she's going to get involved with, entangled with her family. They make it very clear that they want you to view this through the context of African American culture. So, the gameplay loop is supposed to be that she goes into an area. The first chapter, the first mythical monster you come across, is a giant living tree named Benji. It's of a mice and men situation. There's two brothers. One of them is slow, one of them is fast. The slow brother is hated for no reason, just because he's different. They hated him because he was different. And for no reason. Because he was finally tired of being embarrassed by his slow brother, the faster brother beats the shit out of his younger brother with the bow of a fiddle, then tells him to get into the hollow of a tree, and nails him into the hollow of a tree, and murders his brother by abandoning him. And his slow-ass brother turns into a giant fucking magical tree. The takeaway being, damn, wasn't that really fucked up? They just hated his brother for being different. That's so horrible. But there's no real conflict. Even though there are multiple evil white racists in the area, as you go through the evil white racist's house, telling you, hey yo, what if you just went out on the river and you just came back alone? Nobody would think any differently. Just murder your brother. Just murder your brother because he's different. Don't you know he's slow, boy? Boy, don't you know he's missing 5 screws on the day plate drink of an IKEA table, boy? Just get rid of him, boy. There's no reason for him to have murdered him. But he chooses to murder him in this way. And the wound that is created from the... What was the word? It's a very specific mechanical word they use to describe it. The tangle. The wound that is created from the tangle of these complex emotions and events are patterns that have to be collected by the weaver, whose job it is to heal these rips and tears and breaks in the grand tapestry of life. And literally, this black weaver, who's responsible for doing things like saving people from slavery, because this is how they introduce the role of your character. from you looking at things happening in the past as you learn about abilities that you unlock without actually having to like investigate them. The job of the Weaver, the job of Hazel, is to learn about the tragedies that have happened in the area and witness them like events in front of her, like she's watching a movie, and then heal the mythical creature with the pattern created from the events that she witnessed. And like I said earlier when I was talking to Aqua about it, the patterns of events, the pattern of events, the pattern of behavior, a black woman has to do trauma healing for the bad patterns of behavior from evil white people. Or, if it's not evil white people, a troubled white person. Second chapter, or rather the second mythical creature called Tutok-Tom. Tutok-Tom is a alligator, or crocodile. It's probably just a gator. So, alligator, that was treated like an attack dog by the evil white dad of Jolene. Jolene, who became a minister, because originally Jolene just wanted to be a musician. She was a hot musician. She was like Dolly Parton, or Miley Cyrus, but attractive. And she was really good at her music, but her daddy didn't like her being a musician. So he had a bell that he would ring to make Tutok-Tom into an antagonistic attack dog, and he would starve him on purpose to scare the shit out of him and everybody else. And Jolene got sick of the shit. So when he passed out one day and he was sitting there with Tutok-Tom at his side, she rolled up on him, grabbed the bell, rang the shit, and Tutok-Tom killed her dad by eating his leg because he was just so hungry. And then she gave up her dream of being a musician as a way to give penitence because she didn't want to kill her dad. She just wanted to teach him a lesson, and became a minister who charges $4 to $3.50 at the door for you to go to the church. So, because of how evil her racist dad was, it makes clear that he's a racist too, even though he's just an evil, mean old man. Because of how fucked up her dad was to her and the community, and especially to this gator's trauma makes it manifest into a goddamn mythical creature as big as a small island with a broken maw. And part of the section of being able to heal his wound that's inside his body is to go into him in a monstro section similar to Kingdom Hearts 1. Almost every single creature, any creature that needs to be healed, is the result of somebody's choices and actions having affected other people in the area and their lives. And it all comes back to, why did those evil white people act like that? That's the framing, every time. It's never a black character. When it is a black character, like Laurent, it's not because of something Laurent did, it was something a white person did to him and his family. It's tiring. It's very, very tiring, and really, really bad. Now let me read chat real quick. Forgive me if this seems to be tone deaf, but when I heard stories about mixed race characters erasing the demographic majority of the parents and that aspect of their identity, they might as well be black in their case. That is very much the case of how they treat her in the story. She's half white, but when a character considers talking about the Flood family, like the catfish acts like, oh, you one of them white Floods now. I see that whiteness is getting to you. That white bunny Flood's getting to you. You don't need my help. No, you go ahead and walk. But this catfish is for blacks only. That's the type of energy they talk about. That's the type of energy they talk about the Flood family with. Now, of course,
I know.
Go ahead.
I know that energy all too well because, growing up with, my parentage, when I went to school with other, black people, the first thing that came out their mouths, and you can probably guess it. Go on. It's the most.
I will not guess. Tell me.
You look black, but you talk white.
Oh, they don't do that. It's much more the you come from money type shit.
Yeah, but it garners the same sentiment that I very much know about. Of, well, you're different, and we don't want to be around you because you're the different one. Because we know that you're probably you'll probably think that you're better than us. In reality, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
But the sentiment still exists there. So no matter what you do to absolve anything, they will still act like that towards you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh,
and it's often.
I forgot. No,
go ahead.
No, finish your sentence first.
So when you said that, like, oh well, she comes from like a rich family, it's kind of the same. I think it's kind of the same deal, due to the unfortunate fact of no matter how you try to spin it, you will eventually garner the same amount of dissonance from that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Also, I forgot. They have a diegetic soundtrack. So whenever you go into an area and you start dealing with the trauma of the creature that you're trying to heal, Benji has a song. Two-Toe Tom has a song. Laurent has a song. I don't remember if Baby Cherie had a song, chat. But I think Baby Cherie had a song too. Each of these characters, these mythical creatures that you're helping, each of them have a diegetic song that plays in the soundtrack. Like, for the one that I'm not going to tell you, because it's funnier if you watch the streams and find out along with chat at the same time we did. There are times, like for the Benji tree soundtrack is basically having a choir sing to you the circumstances that led to them becoming what they are. For Benji, it's literally, I got put into a tree and I'm sad because my brother killed me. For Two-Toe Tom, it's literally, I'm hungry. Starve me. I just want to eat food, bro. And every single time it comes back to the chorus is screaming their name at you over and over again. I believe for Two-Toe Tom, it was literally them fucking saying Two-Toe Tom every single goddamn segment as a part of the beat. Then, with Baby Cherie, it's like a segment where the singing was done by Bunny Flood because she really liked this child more than she liked her son Trey, for reasons which become obvious in that section, because that's literally the section that I stopped at. Or for Laurent's section, considering that he is a mythical creature, that his entire backstory is so... The event that creates him into a mythical creature is so ridiculous. The song that plays during his boss fight is hilarious based on what actually happened to him and the context of how he transformed into said creature. I cannot describe to you what happened. You have to see it. You have to see it. So that'll be fun for you to watch. There's 3 streams of them so far. We'll be picking it back up on Monday, and I hope I can be able to finish it Monday so I can get started on that same work for Alex, because $31 per game for 4 games is a decent amount of cash. The whole like the unintentional fun and funniness that comes from the story is just how cheesy it is and how on the nose the plot and what it's trying to teach you as a lesson is, and how disrespectful they are with your intention and time, and how they act like, yeah, that's exactly acceptable. There's nothing wrong here. No one at all could say that this is fucked up. If you question this, that makes you a racist. You wanted
even though
for not through a touch over game. You're probably the only person who cares about my feelings, Alex. Yeah, so you have to watch the streams and really catch up for it, and if you have time to on Monday, be able to be there in the chat when I start on it again. Because I was originally going to do the idea where I wasn't going to do anything else until I finished the game, but I figured to myself, you know what? No, we're going to draw this out for a little bit. So I put out some other work. Jay and I have some work of ours that is coming out. I'm working on a couple of videos that are going to come down the pipeline along with the ones that I was already working on, because I've technically already hit my video cap for this month. Like
Okay.
I'm making good progress in time on putting out content every month that I at least have 2 edited videos out or 2 pieces of content that's not just live stream content out. But I have extra shit that I want to have come through, and I would prefer that them drop on April because it's the middle now. And if I could put them out now, then I can have any of the other ones that would take a little bit longer to finish, like my one mannequin video, which is now turned into a anti-femcel video, in May. So that's one thing to go through. I promise people that come from Dev's chat, this is not the trucker video for me. They will be done. I'm just being a perfectionist. Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing on that level, because Jay's next video is going to be G20, and we're then going to get the rest of Interview with the Vampire Season 2 reactions from her and I before we end up starting on Interview with the Vampire Season 3, and then whatever else happens from there, and then a couple of other movie reacts that she has down the pipeline, as well as any of the movie reacts that I have coming down the pipeline. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. Oh, and that's not even accounting for Daredevil Born Again. But y'all will learn about that one in the future. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Anywho, give me a second. I need to go to the kitchen, and I'll be right back.
Very well.
Don't say slurs in the meanwhile.
I am going to say slurs. You know this. It's in my nature. Are you ready, chat? Are you ready to hear slurs? Slurs.
I see you people typing slurs. You people. Oh!
I did say slurs.
You people.
I did in fact say slurs.
Did you?
Yeah, I said slurs.
Marcus, did you say any epithets?
No, I just actually said slurs.
Okay.
Like literally.
Okay.
No, I. The fuck do you think I am? I'm not. I'm not going hard in the fucking paint like the baby. If you know, chat, you know.
Okay, so that's more or less what I've been up to.
I have been up with making more Warframe builds. And I have made one that I am currently playing right now, and I really like it. Would you like to hear about it?
Yeah, sure.
So, there's a particular Warframe named Lavos. Lavos is unique in the style that he does not run through the traditional energy ability exchange. Instead, he solely has cooldowns tied to him. He has no energy, he has only cooldowns of his abilities, and he can mix and match whatever element he desires into his abilities. So if you want his one to have gas, or things of that nature, you can do it on the fly. You can do whatever element you want. Obviously, there is a limitation of you have to use the first element that you have created or have in the slot in order to do it. There is no clear setting other than using an ability, which is totally fine. So this makes him a bit of a status monster in how to face against this, but he also has a weapon associated with him called the Cedo Prime. The Cedo's unique ability is that it fires a bouncing glaive that gives guaranteed status chance. For each unique status effect or stack on the target, it will deal 60% more damage towards that. It will also make secondary ammo pickups convert to shotgun ammo for him because it's a shotgun. And it's fully automatic. The funny thing about this is that Lavos will make even more of this. So he's making the entire mobs all primed with statuses. And every status has their own unique thing. Corrosive lowers armor, magnetic lowers shields, things of that nature. Where does this all fit in? There's a new weapon called the Coda Pacifist, which is a glaive. It bounces around enemy to enemy, inflicting more. And because of a specific mod called Volatile Rebound, whenever it does a bounce, it explodes. And it has a high status chance. So what I'm doing is creating a feedback loop of just non-stop status procking. So it will keep procking and procking and procking and procking and procking and procking every single time that I do a thing. Not only that, Lavos has a literal detonation ability called Catalyze, where if you use it, it will throw out these probes. The probes will deal double damage for each element afflicting an enemy. So it will just detonate everything. And I think the highest recorded damage you can possibly obtain if you have a perfect amount and the enemies aren't dead by then is about over 24 million points of damage. Needless to say, he's a very good room nuke.
Okay.
Thoughts, comments, concerns?
I don't really have any.
Fair enough. But that's what I've been working on. Aside from that, I have gone back in my roots a little bit and have decided to play Halo, the entire series all over again. And needless to say, I forgot how crazy Halo 2 can behave, because the balancing of that game is fucking nutty.
Mm.
Aside from that, I need to play catch up on several things, be it Monster Hunter, because I know of the title update that happened, but I have just not been in a Monster Hunter mood.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a majority of the time, whenever I try to go play Monster Hunter, I do like one mission and I'm like, I'm fucking tired.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right, Carl. There's already Marvel Rivals SMO not work content. There's never one else funny. I mean, I expected it because Callum, the amount that people have been trying to goon to the fucking, I guess they're calling them the fucking queens of Marvel Rivals, is ridiculous. And to show you what I mean, I'll just drag out some of the art of them.
I mean, if you go look in Lewd Coomer Hell, you'll see a lot.
I ain't talking about that kind of porn. I mean the actual relevant ones that you could post and not get banned for.
Oh, those ones.
So what I'm doing...
Overwatch isn't unfortunately going to die, Lucas. Sorry. Believe it or not, there is still a fan base for that game. I don't know why there's a fan base for that game. It's not terrific, but people enjoy what they enjoy.
I don't know, bro. But because they have tried to force magic into the Snow Bunny mind control meme with the blue eyes, we have now gotten Marvel Blondies, which in and of itself brings up some interesting jokes that can work nonstop. All of this, of course, because of the porn. First it started with Sue Storm, then it retroactively decided to involve Dagger, then it advanced forward to Emma Frost, and now they're retroactively trying to go backwards to include magic, because Snow Bunny mind control, but only maybe 2 of these characters are actual mentalists. It's an interesting evolution.
I'm trying to blank on who's the second. I know Emma, but...
Dagger, Sue Storm, Emma Frost, magic.
No. I meant for, like, mentalists.
Dagger? Although her abilities aren't really based in her having telekinetic abilities. They just seem like the telekinetic abilities.
Those, well, it has to do with the light force, so I wouldn't exactly say mental. A little bit of a stretch, but I can see it.
I mean, the joke about Snow Bunny mind control has been ran into the fucking ground to begin with anyways. The only one that legitimately counts for Snow Bunny mind control is Emma Frost, but you know motherfuckers do not want to actually go off of common sense. It's just about you ramming into the ground and railing into the ground no matter what it fucking matters for. Like it is an actual Snow Bunny.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard enough to get them to actually be consistent and make the Snow Bunny mind control meme actually sensible by actually making it into actual Snow Bunny mind control. The best thing we've ever used Miles Morales for in the existence of his power.
God, that movie is going to be very, very all over the place, I feel.
Personally, I feel like the original joke was much funnier. And it wasn't about, haha, it's women and they're snow bunnies. It's just, look at all of these white women with blue eyes and blonde hair, and goddamn, what's happening over there with that woman's body? That was the funniest this meme started out in. And I'm so fucking tired of the fucking Snow Bunny mind control meme now at this point. So, just like every other joke that they've had from Marvel Rivals, they've rammed it into the goddamn earth. Because nobody knows how to let the joke breathe. Plus, how could you even involve Snoo Storm into this shit when it's very clear Snow Bunny mind control means white woman with black man? I'm sorry, is Mr. Reed, as long as you need Richards black all of a sudden because he can make it over 12 inches?
You know what? He is black. You want to know why? Because he can fucking stun up. I genuinely. No, they made him black because those edits of him in game were hidden different for everybody.
I mean, they went from spamming 444 to just spamming this shit. So it's like, I don't know. I prefer them go back to the first meme, which is just dress like an angel, dance like, act like crazy. I prefer that.
Seraphim?
Yeah, I prefer them go back to that. They were being less annoying with Luna Snow than they are right now.
Yeah. I'm also hopping on Marvel Rivals to see if I can get some gameplay of Emma Frost so I can, work with her more.
I don't know.
I also have I told you that last night I ran into the situation of people not knowing how the fuck to play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of DPS players that just don't want to attack the actual people. Like, they don't have active target acquisition. They just hit what they see in front of them, which is typically the tank.
Hey, until they stop treating the game like it's Team Deathmatch for free and they actually start playing it like an objective-based game, I don't know what to tell you there.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest problem with Marvel Rivals. It's not that it doesn't have a player base, it's that the player base is there for reasons that are not for the game's purpose. It's not a Team Deathmatch simulator. So constantly taking fights that are unnecessary and not playing for the team does not win you the game. I don't want to listen to multiple people completely string out calls that are not only not useful, but be incapable of helping us win the goddamn match. Don't care if it's ranked, don't care if it's unranked. It's so dumb. Same thing with having people in a pre-made say, well, I want to play this character. You can't tell me what to do. It's like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you, if we're going to use a defensive hero, can we take a defensive position so that we can actually use the defensive hero? Why bring something like Penny Parker to a mission where we're pushing on the payload, and every time you push on the payload, you're letting them know that we have our tank on the payload. Play off to the side in the side room where we can be able to use it as a place for our divers to flank the front line and the back line. Create a healing zone where we can constantly be able to respawn from so that the goddamn respawn beacon isn't getting sniped by the Spider-Man that you refuse to look at in the back line.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure where half the problems that exist in the game, the main reason why they created Emma Frost wasn't just to have a Gooner, but to specifically put forward the idea of a hit stun, or rather hit scan, frontline Vanguard, who could be able to peel the team instead of having to wait for an off tank to do it. Because with that diamond form, Emma has the ability to one-shot 400 health characters. Of course, they can't have bonus health when she's doing it, but she can one-shot them. Yet, only thing people can talk about is Snow Bunny, Snow Bunny, Snow Bunny, Snow Bunny. Nothing about tactics. It'd be great if they could do both, but they do neither.
Yeah, like currently, like right now, I'm like looking at the new team ups to see like, okay, how does this work with each other? And I think the new team ups are actually kind of interesting. I think they probably should have definitely dealt with the other. They definitely should have dealt with the other team ups, because some of them are really, really not that great. I don't think Strange was necessarily the issue. I think if anything, the issue with Iron Man was Gamma Charge. Because his damage DPS was insane.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they necessarily fully changed that for him. I know that they did change some people for the sake of changing it. Oh, hold on. Iron Man. Is mid-range, so they buffed him. Okay, that's weird, but whatever, I guess. Regardless, I'm probably going to try and play a DPS, probably Scarlet, now that she's been buffed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of the characters that do need kind of a bit of change, Scarlet is one of them, but they can't do much to Scarlet because Scarlet is somebody who can be lethal in the right hands, but you just have to play smart.
Mm-hmm. All that being said, coming up 3 hours, 30 minutes. I think I'm going to cut it here for this broadcast.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, one and all, including you, Marcus, for showing up and talking through.
Yeah, showing up late to the party.
I mean, you're African American. You're never late. You're fashionably late.
I'm half though. I'm mixed. You know.
Okay, you want me to give you a slip for fucking tardiness? What do you want?
I don't know, man. I'm just saying. Listen, this. I can only. I'm just me. I'ma do me. That's honestly about it. Everybody, you do you.
And I will do my
Take
wife.
care. Yes. All right.
Anyways.
Pardon me.
Anyways, one.
Oh, and Carl, if you do want to play Marvel Rivals later, I'm down to.
We'll see. I have some things I need to do.
Yeah.
But that being said, thank you everybody for coming out and going through. I will see you all next Sunday for the next Yap-In. And I'll see you all on Monday. Goodbye. Goodbye.